Ali, 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 yeah. I praise Allah for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message, and I thank Allah for His blessings. Ali was the circle 7. I praise Allah for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message, and I thank Allah for His blessings. Ali was the circle 7. I praise Allah for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message, and I thank Allah for His blessings. Ali was the circle 7. I praise Allah for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message, and I thank Allah for His blessings. Ali was the circle 7. I praise Allah for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message, and I thank Allah for His blessings. Ali was the circle 7. I praise Allah for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message, and I thank Allah for His blessings. Ali was the circle 7.
Islam, 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 Moorish America, on the rise upon the 7 and give all praises to the great God Allah, Father God Allah, and honors to His holy prophet, honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, El-Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali, that is. We give honors to our Moorish kin once again, here, there, and everywhere, and therefore honors to all of you who are continuously honoring yourselves by being yourselves. But at this time, we want to call forth our beloved brother and Consul General Dr. Marvin Nathaniel Evans Bey as he opens up the way. Islam, Islam, Islamism.
Islam, gratitude. Thanks, I'm Dr. Marvin Evans Bey, Consul General of the Texas Consulate. Rising, giving all praise to the great God Allah, giving highest honors to His prophet, our prophet, Noble Drew Ali, El-Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali. Give our honors to our theocratic government, our Moorish American government. Give our honors to our Act 1. Give our honors to all of our officials. Give our honors to this class, our E.A.R.S class, our Egyptian Adeptus Research Sultanate class. As well, I give honors to our instructor, Dr. Shahid Omani. I'm Moheji Sepsuel. I probably mixed up both your names. For hosting and instructing this powerful class. And once I give honors to everything that's Moorish, our flag, our seal, our emblem, our divine constitution, our Holy Quran, our Book of Ali, 101, 102, the exhuman of a nation, all of our divine revelations. I give honor. And I will be opening the meeting according to law, without committing Moorish American prayer. Ya'la abnuheru mekul neteru. Ya'la abheteru. Ya'la ma'atheru. Ya'la hoteperu. Ya'la heru. Ya'la ma'at herkuti. Ya'la awachet dejuti. Ya'la patem sutek. Patem heru. Ya'la bamaduti. El hedges ve abtu ali. Amen. Hallelujah. 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 In transliteration, O Allah, the Father of the universe, O Allah, the Father of love, O Allah, the Spirit of truth, O Allah, the Spirit of peace, O Allah, the Spirit of freedom, O Allah, the Spirit of justice, O Allah, you are my protector, O Allah, you are my guide, O Allah, you are my salvation by night and by day, O Allah, through your holy prophet, O Allah, Drew Ali. Amen. Holy Yasa, Holy Yasa, Holy Yasa. And now I will come forth with the reading of our divine constitution of North America. Salvation, our God, unity. The divine constitution of North America. Act 1. The Grand Sheik and the chairman of North America are empowered to make law and enforce laws with the assistance of the prophet and the grand body of North America. The assistant Grand Sheik is to assist the Grand Sheik in all affairs if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And it is known for the citizens of North America. The bylaws. Act 2. All meetings are to be opened and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 and love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest because on a Friday the first man was formed in flesh, and on a Friday the first man departed out of flesh and ascended unto his Father God Allah. For that cause, Friday is a holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Act 3. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all citizens of North America. No citizen is to put in danger or accuse falsely his brother or sister on any occasion at all that may harm his brother or sister because Allah is love. Act 4. All citizens must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all citizens must obey the laws of the government because by being a North American you are a part and a parcel of the government and must live the life accordingly. Act 5. No organization of North America is to cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws and the Constitution of the said government, but to obey hereby. Act 6. With us, all citizens must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are a part and a parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Drew Ali the prophet to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The North Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites, whom inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All citizens must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and a parcel of all uplifting acts of North America. North Americans must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of North America, and then you're entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children, and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother, and be industrious, and become a part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All North Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love, and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet Noble Drew Ali, through the guidance of his Father God Allah. Prophet Noble Drew Ali, peace and blessings be upon him, founding father and framer of the divine constitution and bylaws of North America. Now this meeting has been opened according to Act 2 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. We say Islam, Islam, Islam. And I'll turn this meeting over to our goddess and queen of South Carolina, Dr. Dendra Anil Kurt. Islam.
Islam, Islam, Islam. I am Dr. Dendra Anil Kurt, but first let me rise and give praises to our great God Allah. I give honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali. I give honors to Act 1. I give honors to all my government officials. I give honors to our National Assistant Grand Sheik for this wonderful research class this morning. And I also give honors to our Consul General of Texas, Dr. Marvin Edwards Bay, for opening us up according to law in reading our Constitution. I will be reading our chapter of the week, chapter 47, coming from our Holy Quran. And it reads, the obedience of children towards their father. From the secrets of Allah, let man learn wisdom and apply to himself the instructions they give. Go to the desert, my son, Observe the young stalk of the wilderness. Let him speak to thy heart. He beareth on his wings his age, sire. He lodges him in safety and supplies him with food. The piety of a child is sweeter than the incense of Persia offering the sun, yea, more delicious than odors waft from a field of Arabian spices of the western gales. Be grateful to thy father, for he gave thee life, and to thy mother, for she sustained thee. Hear the words of his mouth, for they are spoken for thy good. Give ear to his admonition, for it proceedeth from love. He hath watched for thy welfare, he hath toiled for thy ease. Do honor, therefore, to his age, and let not his gray hairs be treated with irreverence. Forget not thy helpless infancy, nor the forwardness of thy youth, and indulge the infirmities of thy aged parents. Assist and support them in the decline of life. So shall their hoary heads go down to the grave in peace, and thy own children in reverence of thy example shall repay thy piety with filial love. Islam, Islam, Islam. We will now turn everything back over to our national sister grand sheik, Dr. Sadua Menti El Maheji Sepsuel. Are you there, God man?
Islamism without the schism.
Islam.
Let us rise again upon the seventh and give all praises to the great God Allah, Father God Allah, and honors to his holy prophet, honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, El Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali, that is. We give honors to our Moorish kin once again, here, there, and everywhere. And therefore, honors to all of you who are continuously honoring yourselves by being yourselves. Want to give honors to all of those who own the manifest in this new era in time, uplift and fall in humanity. Want to give honors to our scribes, the high priest, and the high priestesses that are here. Grand drawing from all of our family. We come a long way, and we still got a lot of ground to cover. As we always say, this is not an overnight journey. This is, a lifetime journey. Want to give honors to all of those who are in the audience, so to speak, giving ear to this information and wisdom that we bring forth. We give honors to all of you. The real cleanup, walaikum salam, rahmatullah barakatuhu, my brother. Also honors to brother Yaqub Hamid Yamal Bey, sister Lisa Nicole Moria Bayel, Islamism without the schism. We got a grand drawing to bring on the manifest this morning, and we want to do it as we always do. We're going to open up with the Book of Fire to lay a base, so to speak, and then we'll go from there. So if we will want to have our family volunteer, and we can start on page 188. That's where we want to come from. Islam, Grand National Secretary of State, but we'll get you to start from the infinite works of the ancient Moabites.
Islam.
And then you can go to page 191 above the Arabian European defacement of the Moors.
Islam.
Islamism. And Brother Bati Bey, you can pick up where the Grand National Secretary of the State leaves off at. And you can stop above another hiding of the Moors on page 193. Islamism. And I got another drawing. Brother Marvin Edwards Bay, you can pick up on another hiding of the Moors And you can actually stop on page 196 above learn law and law govern all events. Islam,
Islam.
Islamism. Well, all right. Well, I'm Badu. Let us proceed. Islam Grand National Secretary of the State.
Islam, gratitude. Islam Warishkin, rising, giving praises to Allah, giving honor to our Prophet Noble Drew Ali, giving honor to our Egyptian Adeptus Research Sultanate class, to our family online, to our panel, and to our host instructor, our National Assistant Grand Sheikh of Moorish America, Dr. Shedwa Menti El Mohedded Shepsuel. Giving honor to our Consul General of Texas, Dr. Marvin Edwards Bay, for opening our meeting according to law. Also to our National Grand Secretary of South Carolina, Dr. Dendra E.A.R.S. Kurtabay, for reading our subject chapter for the week, Islam. Infinite works of the ancient Moabites. When we were angels. Question: what is an angel? An angel is the thought of Allah manifested in human flesh. Question: what is the everlasting gospel? It is a saving power that comes from Allah through our ancient fathers by his prophet. Number 61, question: what is the modern name for those angels? Asiatics. Question: what is the shade of their skin? Olive. Question: are the Moorish Americans any relation to those angels? Yes, we all have the same father and mother. It is difficult for people to see their perfection from a wretched perspective, or to realize their own godliness from the hopelessness of a slave state, only because some blind person told them they were not perfect. Yet, in the heart of every member of the human family speaks a voice, which remembers they are made from a perfect source. The mind of man, unlike the computer made in its likeness, cannot forget. When man goes back in mind into the land of fleshless things, where things are made of thought, what he recalls is when we were angels. Noble Drew Ali, when applying the word ancient, is referring to the state when we were gods. This was when our ancient forefathers' will was not strong enough to break the ethers of life from their native planes, which were in harmony with Allah. They were consciously aware of their relationship to the cherubim, seraphim, and other angels. Being spirits, they would transmute in and out of any form of deific life and manifest at will. Their mission was to master and name, parentheses, give a true attribute / summation, all things of the earth's land and universe. With his force of love divine, he could enter the essence of every planet, plant, bird, fish, beast, or creeping thing without becoming that life. He named everything because every living thing was a deity made flesh. He named each once, and did so in accordance to the totality of its character and purpose. And each within its nature was in harmony with the law. That name was a perfect description of that especial life form. To this day, these works made man Lord of every kingdom to every plane of life. He knew himself and was himself, the executive ruler and vicegerent of all worlds, seen and unseen. He governed with the highest powers of his native plane: love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. This is called God's grace, or the circle of life. It was from this lofty estate he used the keys of civilization. The Egyptians in the monuments misnomered the Sphinx preserved the eras of godly events by the ancient ones, called time travelers by modern man. The godhead of an African man coming out of the body of a lion was captured from the plane of thought and carved in 65-foot high stone, nearly the length of a football field. The Egyptian adepts also knew man. Spirit man was as perfect as the source from which he came and could never die, but indeed would return in another era in another olive-skinned body, in other olive-skinned bodies. When we appeared in our first physical form, which carnal man called this event Adam, and we fell into a lesser state of divinity, parentheses, ungodly thoughts, of the sluggish will, which is known as fallen humanity. The human part we called Asiatic, which means earthbound or to mother's breast. and our true higher self we called Muslim. The latter is our total recall of will to be in harmony with our creative plane, which at times we call the great God. These assignments and greater occurred when we were angels doing the work of God. When the Moabites were themselves, a brief Moorish history. True history will reflect eras when Africans were the first to inhabit the earthland. For this reason, to this very day, his birthplace is called the Holy Lands because it's where the God self was first formed in human flesh. Outside the then Eden, the rest of the earthland he called Asia. Question: who are Adam and Eve? They are the mothers and fathers of the human family, Asiatics and Muslims. Question: where did they go? They went into Asia. Question: what is the modern name given to their children? Asiatics. These events occurred before the cataclysm which Drew Ali called the Great Earthquake, which created the Great Atlantic Ocean. The continent of what is now called Africa was the centrifugal birthplace and the divine origin of the Asiatic nations. Allah originated all Asiatic nations. The pale-skinned man, through ancient Moorish scientists, was later cloned by these African gods after themselves. However, they, the man-made man, could not be originated with a heart, the spirit heart, and possessed an inanimate center. Hence, the earthbound character and chemical makeup of the hueless ones came to be a destructive and warlike nature, which was inharmonious, disease, and reproach to the sun and omnipotencies of life. Yet, they too were shadows of deities made with flesh. Because of their detachment from the truth, parentheses God, the pale-skinned people and those who accepted their teachings were cast out of the Holy Land and imprisoned into the cloud-covered mountains and lands of Eurasia, where they remained until the advent of Moses. Still, to this day, the nations of Europe will rather make a false claim of an ancestral origin to the monkeys of Africa before acknowledgement by their Moorish creators. See Adam and Eve, Freemasonry. People with short memories or those suffering from selective amnesia do not understand the reason why the Holy Lands today are European orchestrated war lands is because it is their final effort to bury the history and gods that created them. Regardless to that his story of the Europeans, the families, tribes, and nations of Asiatics began from the holy birthlands to form themselves kingdoms around the globe. Other Asiatics from these lands inhabited India, Persia, China, Japan, Australia, Arabia, Iraq, North, Central, and South America, and all islands of the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. All of these were melanin-drenched brethren of the Sunni man. Moorish Holy Quran, chapter 47. These holy lands of sun-kissed peoples of olive hues extended from the upper Nile northward through the valleys of Kemet, Egypt, lands, through today's Mecca, Jerusalem, and Moab of Canaan. It was these ancient Moabites who were the founders of the holy city of Mecca. Then came the name Sunni, which means original or first. Also, the Moabites from the land of Moab, who received permission from the pharaohs of Egypt to settle and inhabit northwest Africa. They were the founders and the true possessors of the present Moroccan Empire. It was the Moorish, a seafaring people, who had circumscribed the continent of Africa over 10,000 years ago. In fact, during the reign of Necho II, the gods of the Nile had circumnavigated the entire continent and drew maps so accurate until it looks like an aerial view of today. This is when the name Amexium, the first true and divine name of the continent, got its rise. They named every continent, sea, mountain, and waterway. It must be remembered, above all else, the entire earthland was given to the torchbearers of civilization. The ancient Moabites are homeowners of this planet mud. Question: what is the covenant of the great God Allah? Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the earthland which the Lord thy God Allah hath given thee. The Moorish are not renters, squatters, gypsies, or nomads. They hold the title to their vast estate, within each part. The renters on earth are those who believe their life begins and ends in earth. They exist discordant to the harmonies of life, which breed justice, mercy, love, and right. This is why it took a holy prophet to remind the Moorish the key of civilization was and is in the hands of the Asiatic nations. The Moorish know the earth's pulse and lifelines which breathe life from Allah. This is why they built major upward structures upon these pulses to ensure harmonious long life. Example given: pyramids, ziggurats, and the great river mounds of North America, along the Mississippi River from Louisiana through the Great Serpent Mound in Ohio up to the lakes. To this day, these mounds alone are proof of the Moorish indigenous status to the continental Americas. Noble Drew Ali taught the Moors, she, the earth, is your home, and gave you the body from her womb. The universe, as far as your eyes can see, is just the road to your vast estate. But this is a new age, and the spirit of Aquarius has already made her debut of higher thought activity among men in flesh. Today, they are many to the families of nations, each claiming a portion of land named after themselves. And although this is not man's final abode, without a doubt, nationality is the order of the day. Is it not strange this nationality was the key deprivation to the Moorish enslavement? Is it not equally strange every person on earth has a nationality except those descendants of slaves still in the United States of America? Nationality is the axis that pivots all governments. It sustains comity among the nations, for the former families of the earth are now recognized as nations, even to the smallest tribe, as the Pequot Nation of the Connecticut River, Foxwood Casino et al. Are only about 500 citizens, small by comparison, but still a nation. It is sad but true. Negro, black, and colored are 60 million strong, author's estimate. But if you see 50 or more together for a duration exceeding 12 hours, it's because they are attending church or some other festival. Chinese make up about 25% of the Earth's population, with about 1,150,000,000, still a nation. The continent of Africa is home to 53 countries, totaling hundreds of nations. So-called black people of North America are nearly 60 million strong, yet not a nation, and the only one not attached to the families of nations. Is there something in error with this picture? Author's note: the Moorish is 60 million when they count themselves. Their enemy will always generously record them 3/5 of their whole. Everyone is descended from forefathers and born into a nation. Nations are determined by the genealogy of the parents and the sovereignty in which they are born. The foundation of this acceptance and recognition is a necessity spurned from the global expansion of the human race in accordance to their national vine and fig tree. More simply put, your nationality is your branch to the family tree of nations, and the quote-unquote free national name from which you are recognized. One's nationality is one's true identity. No one can honestly deny that as the label on the face of a product identifies the item for the consumer, like so, a nationality identifies the total character of a nation. As no one will see the value of an improperly named product, likewise, no nation has genuine trust for an improperly labeled people. The one free national name of a nation is not accidental words that just happen to pop up into the minds of the people. Such historical name often derives from the lands of origin, patriotic forefathers, and incorporates the divine and natural ethnology of an especial people. This is why Noble Drew Ali, an angel of Allah, declared, "This is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth." Acts 6. What government on earth recognizes the Negro, black, and colored as a people? The question remains, who are the Moorish Americans? How can they have the continuity of a nation and not be known? Actually, the Moorish existence has undergone a massive European Arabian historical burial, especially during the periods between 1398 and 1998. There are 66 books compiling the Bible. 39 of these house the Old Testament, which itself is founded upon books taken from the Jewish holy book called the Torah. The majority of the books to the Old Testament reflect the historical and prophetic accounts from the 12 tribes of Israel, known collectively as Hebrews. Basically, it is their story that covers the time period from 3700 BC to 168 BC. Moorish history predates biblical history in excess of 5 million years. By no accurate claim is the Bible the only historical account of the human family. It is not the true beginning. Therefore, it is not, quote unquote, the word of the great God. In fact, it is not even the word of the Hebrews, but the word of the Greeks of Europe. See religion. It is a sign of a major prophet to leave a book containing the portion of the one truth brought through his people at that time. There are many books omitted from the Bible for various reasons, mainly because no prophet brought the Bible, nor was it ordained by the great God to be bound into a book. Indeed, each book was brought to a nation called tribes by their prophet for their salvation and comity. The foundation of the Bible, known first as a Septuagint, Greek Biblios, was the Greek's translation of the Hebrew holy books. This was during a time when Greek had become the official language of Palestine. Why is Palestine and pale skin harmonious? Noble Durali speaks of this period. Question: why did Allah send Yehoshua to this earth? Answer: to save the Israelites from the iron hand oppression of the pale skinned nations of Europe, who were governing a portion of Palestine at that time. The greatest omitted / cover-up throughout the Bible through this Greek connection was the presence of the African peoples and the Moabite Canaanite genealogy of Yehoshua. Yet, these olive-skinned tribes and nations founded over 90% of biblical history. Also, for those readers who are Bible-oriented, it would help them if they notice more closely every begot, beget, or begotten therein are through a national descent or tribal name, not by color or label. This explains why there are not Negro, colored, or black folks in the Bible or pre-United States history. Only the pale-skinned, quote-unquote, Gentiles of Japhet are the exception. In fact, the purposes of translation of the nations of Europe were removing the great moral, historical, and ancestral sinews of the biblical characters. They were completely cut off from obtaining many other books, and over half the life of Yehoshua, or Jesus, 18 missing years, until the advent of Prophet Noble Drew Ali in Egypt. Actually, the Prophet of Allah revealed the reasons these lessons, parentheses, the genealogy of Yehoshua with 18 years, of the events, life works, and teachings in India, Europe, and Africa. These events occurred before he was 30 years of age, which were secret lessons for all those who love Yehoshua. Have not been known is because the Muslims of India, Egypt, and Palestine had these secrets and kept them back from the outside world. See Moorish Holy Quran, page 3. Naturally, King James, a strange forefather of notorious Frank and Jesse James, and his Shakespearean posse were the chief purloiners of the Moorish existence in the Bible. But there is no death to truth, although man may disguise it for a minute. So the Moabites from Adam through Boaz by Ruth to Yehoshua are there for the seekers of truth. Trace their tree of nationalities for the facts. At this time, we want to turn the meeting into the hands of Consul General of Iowa, Dr. Bati Bey. Islam?
Islam. First, I'd like to rise and give all men the praise to Allah. Honors to the Prophet, honors to our theocratic government, the Royal Council, our flag, seal, emblem, our divine constitution, our swift angels, mufti, citizens alike. Honors to all the Moors that are here in attendance. Honors to all the scribes and our our teacher, Islam, comedian, Adeptus, Islam. I will begin. The Arabian European defacement of the Moorish. It is always a shocking awakening when anyone views the so-called African-American historical slave trade down the nose of Arabian culture. What most NBC people fail to realize, especially those who have so blindly rushed the rafts of their hearts into the swamp of what they think is Orthodox Sunni Islam. A person would find it about as difficult to separate Arabs from trading and slavery of Africans as deciphering wet from water. Although Africans are the paternal fathers and mothers of the people of ancient Havilah, Arabia, the genealogy of their sun-kissed parents have been openly despised into a caste system of perpetual dehumanization. For many centuries, long before the compiling of the first Bible and the lofty advent of Muhammad the prophet, the commercial trade routes centered in the goddamn desert of Arabia were littered open air markets, traveling traders and businessmen to and from the known world. Naturally, profits breed greed, which creates massive egos that leads to theft and murder. Nothing and no one were exempt from being sold or bought. Commodities, livestock, women, children, and men. While it is true Muhammad chose Islam from among the African religions for his people of Arabia, the new Arabia converts, Muslims, would only lay down their lust for trade during salats, prayers. Outside the collective 30 to 45 minutes of daily mandatory prayer time, the kidnapping, dehumanizing, and selling of Africans has been considered a part of Arabia's GNP, excuse me. In fact, what is undoubtedly suffered as slavery by today's American NBCs has been a natural part of Arabia's psyche. To the most upright Arab Muslim, the enslavement of infidels is a moral obligation and above all other human excuses. To sell their African brethren has been dementedly understood as doing the will of Allah. For those who do not know, it was the old Arab traders that taught the Roman popes and their posse of Christian crusaders the art of African trading. From the 1920s to the 1990s, to the late 1990s, this Arabian peddling art of direct sale by horse and wagon was so widely used in most urban cities and rural communities for the selling of everything from seafood to dry goods, until most NBC commodities colloquially called these businesses Arabian. They would yell, "Get your watermelon red to the rind." Beyond the world's greatest kept secret of the worldwide suppression of the missing 18 years of Yehoshua's life, purposely omitted from the Bible, purposely omitted from the Bible, the mystery of the true identity of the so-called American Negro, Black Africans, and Arabs during the 25 centuries are clearly the foremost authority in the lucrative business of African slave trading. Nobody wants to dialogue about the topic. It is considered politically incorrect for Western world powers to divulge the Arab influence into their internal affairs. And somehow it has become an unsung secret hidden well beneath the First Amendment, freedom of religion, to reveal Arabian contributors to the denationalization of the West Africans so they could be reduced into slavery as Negroes, Blacks, colored people. Denationalization is the true legal definition hidden within the 3/5 clause of the United States and the word person as used in the 14th Amendment. Noble Drew Ali said every nation has suffered slavery due to the fact that they did not honor the principles of their forefathers. But what makes the children of Arabia such great slavers of so many African nations? When the old time religion was first introduced through Prophet Muhammad as Islam, its light revealed Meccan Arabian merchants as expert slave traders. Today, most Muslims will speak proudly of Bilal as being the first convert to Islam under Prophet Muhammad's dispensation. Oh, did I mention Bilal was a slave from the East African kingdom of Abyssinia, Ethiopia? Brother Bilal was, in fact, an Abyssinian national, but also a slave in the markets of Mecca prior to the resurrection of Islam. There was no mistaking the tribal origin of Bilal because he was of such ripe olive dark skin until his hands was the same sun-kissed hue on both sides. This African national is light of Muhammad, is the most renowned Muslim in the history of modern Islam. One would think, with all the Islamic holy smoke of piety, Bilal would be the last African subjected to Arabian slavery, right? Wrong. Arabs are addicted to the enslaving of spiritual human beings. Historically, Africans have been the preferred delicacy for the grotesque Arabian appetite. It is the so-called ex-slave American Muslims converts who are completely ignorant of their nearly 3,000-year-old predator that now comes under the holy cloak of al-Islam. It is in the chameleonic nature of any man or a people without the knowledge of the self to assume any surviving role of their environments. Acceptance of the very marks NBC firmly implies I have no idea who I am. Still, it does not take a master historian to see the infinite grace and force of Islam, the world's first religious creed. Has never changed the old Arab lust for enslaving Africans. Actually, Islam has been used by Arabs to subjugate the Earth's population into either an Arabian thought pattern or be classified as infidels, Iblis, or Shaitan, to be looked down at as being 6 inches lower than a whale's turd. Superstitious Arabia thinks a non-Arab cannot be worthy of being a true Orthodox Sunni Muslim. This is why Noble Drew Ali instructs to think not with Arabia. The underlying point to be made here is this: Bilal was not the last East African to be enslaved through Arabia, not by a long shot. Who are the Sids of India? The Sids, pronounced Shadis, the Shadis of India, are descendant of East African slaves, sometimes servants, sailors, merchants, and Muslims returning from the Hajj, that had been captured, transported by boat, and sold to Hindu Indian princes by Muslim Arab tradesmen. From the early 5th century of the pre-Muhammadan years to the 5th century to the pre-Muhammadan years to the 15th century, long before the sailing of the first African slave ships to the Americas. The Arabs, now with the Holy Quran in hand, were selling indigenous people of East Africa as slaves to India. The Shadis of India and the Negro, Black, and colored people of North America have a lot more in common than any other people in the history of mankind's enslaving man. Like the NBCs, the Shadis have no memory of African ancestry or tribal lineage. They have lost all knowledge that all members of the human family are those bearing one free national name. Both people, although a half globe apart, have been denationalized, socially prostituted, and permanently rejected as alien citizenry at the abolishment of their institution of slavery. Needful to say, the Arab thieves who stole them treasured monetary profits far more than the future of their human prey. Authors note, the truth of Arabian insensitivity towards their darker skinned African brothers is the hardest lesson to teach to the NBC, especially those who have converted to what they think is Islam and know everything about Arabia, from Arabic to Prophet Muhammad, yet have no knowledge of their nationality, self, inheritance, or people. Without these divine and natural rights, the so-called African Americans are as sheep fatted for re-enslavement via Islam. African Aborigines of the Indian subcontinent are the first true indigenous inhabitants of what is now called India. Drew Ali refers to them in his questionnaire under the African epoch of Adam and Eve. They are the mothers and fathers of the human family, went into Asia. See appendix. As are most Africans, the Negrito tribe people were very ripe, dark, olive skin with woolly hair. Some are found today in the hills and interiors of India. The current inhabitants were with varying degrees of melanin and straighter hair derived through the amalgamating with the immigrated Dravidians, Aryans, Huns, Mongols, Arabs, and Greeks. We cannot omit the injected strains by the British, Portuguese, and French. Needful to say, Africans from eastern Egypt to Tripoli and Algiers, coupled with merchants sailing from China, Japan, Oman, Bengal, and the Orient, made India a cultural melting pot many centuries before the European discovery of America. Another origin of the Shadis is many of them were originally from northern Nigeria, but were later kidnapped upon return from the Hajj, a required at least once in a Muslim's lifetime pilgrimage to Mecca. By Arab. Who else? Slave traders. The Nigerian government reported these non-defective losses after many of their nationals did not return from the sacred Hajj. The chief Islamic government of Saudi Arabia has hosted the Hajj since the era of Muhammad. To say these disappearances of African souls in Arabia soils are mere coincidences after due diligence consideration of the Arabian African slave trade history is to deny the little boy with the Quran hidden behind his back is also the one who threw the rock. Noble Drew Ali, the first Muslim to lawfully bring Islam into the United States, cautioned the ex-slaves of America, if you are not careful, your own brother will enslave you again. The Arabian slave masters featured the eastern seaboard African slave trade several centuries before their great Ma'afa of the Atlantic pogrom of West African nationals. In fact, the greater part of the African Sudanese slave trade placed the taste of sweet honey in the rock into the mouth of the future world's most renowned slavers from Portugal, Britain, France, and Holland. On the other side of that coin, the Arabs are revealed plainly before the face of Islam as having full knowledge of the denationalizing genocide into which they had sold their African brothers. The evil the evil mechanisms of systemized chattel slavery can literally make an entire people vanish from the face of the earth. Still, at the same time, leave the shell of a nation free to walk amongst upright men under the assumption of equality. The denationalization of human beings is both sinful and criminal. The horror of any denationalization process is its main objective, to systematically obscure or eradicate the true identity of its victims. To denationalize a person or people is equivalent to skinning them, thus leaving them alive yet marked isolated from all other nations, all other nationals, and vulnerable to every harmful condition. Being their because their skin was performed because their skinning was performed under the color of law, the denationalized believe they have the same protections as those with skin. Drew Ali describes this status in a 1928 address. In all other governments, when a man is born and reared, they are reared there and asked his name and national descent and fails to give it, he is misused, imprisoned, or exiled. Any group of people that fails to answer up the constitutional standards of law by name and principle, because to be a citizen of any government, you must claim your free national name and descent, because they place their trust upon issues and names that are not a part or and partial of neither were they formed by their forefathers. The Arabian lust for money and heritage and power has rendered them completely insensitive to civil and inalienable rights of all non-Arabs, especially Africans. Therefore, they care less as to what happens to their victims once sold into slavery. It is the nature of a black market dealers, e.g., drugs, weapons, slaves, etc., to completely detach themselves from the merchandise once it has been sold for the agreed price. After all, the products was either purchased by them at a lesser price or stolen for the sole purpose of profit. The Shadis, although mostly found in the western Indian state of Gujarat, the village of Jambur, deep in the Gir forest, is one of the more exclusive Shadis settlements. Through the centuries of Shadi of the through the centuries, the Shadis have become divided among themselves and are known as Shadis Kafirs and other misnomers. Shadis, like the NBCs, are sewn into the hems of social fabric as irresponsible, lazy, naturally athletic, and above all, not worthy of trust. The government of India, similar to the USA, expects the denationalized ex-slave community to change their pending current political, social, and financial status by conforming to the status quo. Basically, the Shadis are commonly known as the untouchables and are literally treated accordingly. This means no upright citizen would dare contaminate themselves by touching the Shadis. If they have something to give to them, it is always tossed on the ground for them to pick up after the giver is a safe distance away. Knowing this is like expecting the ass to catch up with the carrot that has been purposely placed within its sight but outside of its reach. This is impossible. That is until they grow their own skin. Speaking of skin, the skin game known as the Varna or color system was enacted during the reign of Akbar, the Mongol emperor of India. Some historians, unbeknownst of this 16th century evil, thought Jim Crow and apartheid was rooted in European America, and South Africa. Actually, the Sids could rewrite the book on the history of segregation. Islam, Islam, Islam. And with this, I will turn the meeting over to Marvin Edwards Bay, Consul General of Texas. Islam.
Islam, gratitude. Yes, I'm Dr. Marvin Edwards Bay out of Texas Consulate. Praise and honor have been given, but I'll reiterate. Praise Allah, and honor to his prophet, and honor to our North American government and our instructor, the panel, and all those within the sound of my voice. Another hiding of the Moors. Make no mistake about it, the greatest hiding of the Moors is the mental slavery, which shields them away from being themselves. Another hiding of the Moors came in the shadow of the Arabian conquest of Africa, which was heavily interwoven with their spread of their cultist version of Islam. National and religious vanity had overtaken Arabia virtually as soon as the Holy Prophet Muhammad left his body of flesh, 632 AD. The Arabian version of Islam was not practiced the same as originally taught to Muhammad by the angelic Egyptian adept referred to as the angel Gabriel. Pure Islam is oblivious to sex and carnal boundaries. Yet today there are Sunni, Shiites, Sufis, Moorish science, nations of Islam, named among the many. Ironically, not one of these sects respects any of the others because each one is the original. Multiple conflicts were spurned between devout Muslims and the bloodline Muslims of his immediate family as to which was the most pious to spread the perfectly transliterated religion of Islam. Whenever successorship of divinity becomes a question, it is because human ego, like a black cloud, has hidden Allah from the hearts of men. One side said, Allah fulfilled his covenant to Abraham and through Africa's Egyptian Hagar, her son Ishmael is the grandfather of Muhammad ibn Abdullah. Wives, his children, descendants, and we believers, Muslims, to submit their will to Allah, and we were there to transcribe the Holy Quran, what the angel Gabriel had told Muhammad to read. We heard and obeyed when he rejected by Meccans and Arabia. This feud of the blessed ones took on an earthbound contention of think like Arabia, dress like Arabs, attached to the religious saturation of Islam. It also caused the commentaries and translations of the Holy Quran to compete with the Hadiths, verbal accounts of the life of the Messenger, to impact before the true teachings of the Prophet Muhammad. These undercut rivalries later produced sects among Muslim nationals and communities. Meanwhile, sects are strictly forbidden in the religion of Islam, Surah 42, ayat 12 to 14. Just the same, today's results show there are Sunni, Shiites, Sufi, and dozens more in America and the world. Indeed, this has led to wars between Islamic governments and the 1987 mass murders of pilgrims at the sacred Kaaba, the center of purity for Muslims worldwide. Arabs also, although marvelous historians, often misplace the fact that they were the very last of the polytheistic nations of East Africa to embrace the monotheistic way of life. In fact, prior to the divine advent of Muhammad the first, there were more man-made deities in Arabia than water holes. They had 360 gods at the Kaaba alone. The people of ancient Havilah, Arabia, especially the seeds of Hagar's Ishmael, were among the first to digress by holding steadfast to the fall of Adam. Today, Muslims the world over, especially the blessed Arabians, need to abandon the antiquated custom of enslaving people and killing execute others after Juma, then think they are doing the will of Allah or adhering to the Holy Quran. It is tragic and sinful for the great people of Arabia to have one of the noblest prophets of all time to be born amongst them and still cling to carnal minded principles that delude to the institutions of human slavery. No, notwithstanding this thinking is in error and in violation of the ordinances of the great God Allah. Islamism, spiritual science, and the first religious creed founded by the ancient Africans for the redemption and salvation of mankind on earth. It was later developed through the wisdom of the Egyptians, Chinese, Japanese, and Adepts of India as a know thyself art through meditation called the straight way from man to God. Over 5,000 years later, the great prophet Muhammad was sent by Allah to redeem the perfect, to redeem and perfect, translate into Arabic, this same religion, and he named it Islam. Islam in the Arabic language means peace. Yep, the same shalom on earth that Prophet Yehoshua spoke in Hebrew language of the Jews, although he spoke Aramaic. The words of Noble Drew Ali must be driven at this point when he wrote, Moorish, who were the ancient Moabites and the founders of the holy city of Mecca. Moorish Holy Quran 45, Ayah 2. And the same forefathers who are the true and divine founders of the first religious creed. Moorish Holy Quran 48, Ayah 6. These Moabites from the land of Moab, who received permission from the pharaohs of Egypt to settle and inhabit northwest Africa. They were the founders and are the true possessors of the present Moroccan Empire. This empire included the kingdoms founded by their Canaanite, Hittite, Amorite brethren, who sojourned from the land of Canaan seeking new homes. We'll show the Quran 47, Ayah 6. The Moroccan Empire extended from Egypt land westward, following the shorelines of the Mediterranean around the Rock of Gibraltar to the Atlantic, and all shorelands southwestern to the capes surrounding the southmost tip of Africa. The grandeur of the Moroccan Empire and its multiplicity of expanding kingdoms, today called countries of Northwest and Southwest Africa, was inhabited with cities, universities, and villages with customs and trades. These were in place for thousands of years before the spread of Islam, the Ottoman Empire, etc. Truth is, most Africans called it Egypt of the West. The Moors, with a mixture of ancient and Arabian Islam as their religion, conquered Spain and European countries as far north as Ireland, and were heavily influenced with Moorish architecture and cultures. However, some of the Moors held firm to the inherent truth of the forefathers, while others were persuaded to become denationalized and accepted Arabia as the government. While it is true all Moors embraced Islam and acknowledged Muhammad as the messenger of Allah, it was the strangely mixed demand of Arab nationality which created a split among the citizens of the various kingdoms. To demand the impossibility of changing one's nationality to that of the Arabian was and is an evil and ludicrous, and is as evil and ludicrous as demanding a Nigerian to be a Negro Christian in order to be free U.S. citizen. The Moors who bowed down to the sultans of Arabia were made caliphs, sheikhs, and powerful positions in the Ottoman Empire, which was headed by the Turks of Istanbul. Istanbul. The Turks are the true descendants of Hagar, who are the chief mufti, protectors of the Islamic creed of Mecca. Appendix More Holy Quran 45:7. Bear in mind, there is nothing wrong with Islam, now or ever. Still, Islam and other religions have historically been misused and used as bait to conceal carnal hooks of men and nationalism. The divine instructions from the Holy Prophet clearly ask, would the fish swallow the bait if he knew the hook were hidden therein? More Holy Quran 39:7. Hence, it was the military cohesion of the Christian crusaders, parentheses, with the aforementioned Bible in hand, and the Islamic Arab Moors which joined forces in Granada, Spain, and not only defeated the Moorish descendants of the ancient Moabites, but actually began the African slave trade with the hostages, 1492 AD. The religious purloiners of Europe and Arabs that began destroying the world's knowledge of the achievements of civilization and ancestral knowledge of the then defenseless Moors. After all, the Christians and the Muslims of the 14th and 15th century were the world's ruling military powers, yet they were religious and national enemies. Nonetheless, it's not uncommon for the staunchest foes to bond together in gaining a common objective, and to this day, the only thing these powers agree upon is the subjugation of the Moorish people. For any human entity to completely conquer a people, it is the destruction of their accomplishments and history which gives precedence to the finale of their victory. So, what happened to the torchbearers of civilization, the ancient ones, the gods of the Nile, the Sunni man, the ancient Moabites who were later called the Atlanteans, Moors of Morocco, and Mauritania's Haratines? Actually, the only people who truly do know who the Moorish Americans are the Moorish Americans themselves. Today, they are these in full today. There are those in full knowledge of who the ex-slave in America truly is. However, most of them have taken blood oaths to swear never to tell before they die. This evil may not seem too bad when it's compared to certain NBC male persons who take the same damn oaths, yet do not have a clue to the fact it is they who are the secret. Still, among those that know are the Pope of Rome, the heads of Mecca, Egypt, and the Islamic world. Yeah, and the Islamic world especially. Therefore, when a Mason becomes a, a cut above, a cut above 32nd degree Shriner or 33rd, they too are given the true name of the Hiram, whom they have buried in a shallow grave. Therefore, many officials within the USA know who the Moorish are, see Freemasonry. But this focus is upon the Islamic community, which is spreading like sunlight in the West. Although there are millions of ex-slaves in America whom have embraced Islam, not one Imam, Islamic minister, has taught them their nationality since the Sultan Abdul Aziz Abu Saud acknowledged the prophethood of Noble Drew Ali, Noble Sharif Drew Ali, in 1911 AD. This honorable sultan is a direct descendant of Hagar and the head of the holy city of Mecca. The kingdom of Saudi Arabia was named in honor of the Saudis, Al Malaka Al Arabiya as Saudiya. He was the only true Muslim guided by Allah to not only confirm the history and ancestral identity of the Moorish to Sheikh Sharif Abdul Ali, Nobles Ali, but empowered him to teach Islamism as the old-time religion. Number 17 to 18 questions. To his nation. More show the Quran, page 2. His message is called the Great Prophet of Allah. As another point of interest, the extent of an Arab country is limited to the peninsula of Arabia itself. It is purely a European influence to call many other countries governed by the Holy Quran, therefore, Arab countries. The proper term for used to describe countries under the Holy Quran is they are all Islamic countries. At the very most, their national name, for example, Egypt, Morocco, Iran, etc., honor the portion of the mother which gives them suck. Appendix chapter 25. And Islam is their chosen or designated religious path governed by Allah. But they are not Arab countries. Only Europeans say this. Needful to say, the nation of Moorish Americans, being a pure and clean nation, will also be Islamic and a divine government. But it will not be Arabia, Arab, or Arabian. As soon as the Muslims of India, Egypt, and Arabia, as far the Muslims of Arabia, Egypt, and Arab, if they can keep the secret of the 18 years of the life of Yehoshua from the nations of Europe, and that he did not die on the cross, Quran, Surah 4, Ayat 157, then being a little hush-mouthed about a mere half-billion ancestors being enslaved could pose no problem, especially when they were either the sellers and or owners of the slaves. After all, it does stand to reason a seller is aware of the history and subsequent value of his product. So, who else other than Allah would know the true identity better than those who took it away? One need only ask those that know law. In other words, Arabs should be the knower of the identity of the slaves they sell. Okay. Okay, I got to continue. When Moors were sinners, a sinner is one who violates the universal and natural laws of their divine creator. A criminal is one who abuses the laws of men. Needful to say, for those that know how man is put together, realize it's a lot easier to become a sinner than a criminal, simply because a sin lies in the wish and in the desire of a man, not in the act, whereas a crime is an act already committed and annexed with the conviction and punishment. The latter is usually contingent upon the suspect being caught, convicted, and confined or executed before labeled as criminal. The former actually marks his or herself by their own unnatural and ungodly thoughts. It is often said, to the victor goes the spoils, and being conquerors in Europe for over 800 years, 711 to 1492 AD, made heroes of the Moors. A hero is a character bubbled by public in a witness of the times. Also, Quran 40, ayat 2 through 6. True history does not always taste sweet. in the mouth of the present. Most human failures are based upon the repetitions to past abuses of man's will to be himself or other than self. Still, slavery, like it or not, has always been a divine issue. It is Allah's way of reproving his children, nations, and cannot be understood by the finite thoughts of carnal men. From an infinite point of view, man has the right to be himself. And after all, man is made in the image and after the likeness of God, Allah. Number 90, 91. He was created to be the Lord of the plane of soul and all things, including his own manifest. But the Sunni man did not, in fact, give up his birthright just to gratify his lower self. See chapter 1. The Moors became very complacent while in Spain, and within 100-mile core of coastal interiors to north central southwest Africa exchanged their creed, Islamism, and principles to their forefathers to accept the nation's customs and gods of Europe. The Moors knew nothing about these gods, which with such powers of allurements, but have cores of lewdness, murder, theft, and harmfulness. Many Moors had become Christians, Spaniards, Romans, French, British, Irish, etc., and had misplaced their keys to civilization and become disrespectful and had become disrespectful to Islamism. From the scope of ages, it was the duty of the ancient Moabites to civilize the lands of their apostolates from the coming age. This is why our ancient forefathers, did I skip something? To civilize the lands of their earths with the harmonies of life and return again according to the unfolding consciousness of man, to realign their apostolates to the common age. This is why our ancient forefathers established civilization here in North, South, and Central America, 16,000 years before Christopher Columbus discovered us, already using our continents and islands. This is how the Moors acquired the name time travelers and seafarers, humanity movers. With the advent of our prophet Muhammad and the sign of the last quarter moon and star, the final stage of perfect consciousness, paradise for man, see signs and symbols. The tribes of the Moorish in the West Africa knew the times of the Enlightenment age were in their hands and to bring it to the Western Hemisphere. But the Moors got caught up in the apples of Europe, which were lovely to the eye and pleasant to the smell. Their cores are full of bitterness and gall. Most Holy Quran 3:12-13. The families of nations are the children of Allah. Each, according to their own vine and fig tree, has a specific duty to reveal the part of Allah by the name of Allah in which they have. Most Holy Quran 10, ayat 18. The duty of the Moorish has eternally been the deliverance of wisdom. The duty of the Moorish has eternally been the deliverance of wisdom for the civilizing of men on earth. See pure and clean nation of this chapter. The Moors became sinners and subsequent criminals when they failed in this inherent obligation. And in layman's terms, the God of their forefathers spanked their sinning Moorish asses with the wrath of slavery. In this respect, the Europeans, Jews, and Arabians were but instruments of the great God used to move the hands in the clock of destiny to their proper hour. The Moors reaped their own divine punishment. The Moorish, being the founders of Islam, became sinners when they became other than images of God. They actually requisitioned their own enslavement. They were the first to know the answer to Allah's question, "Where are you, Adam?" See Adam and Eve, Genesis. The Moors were found not in their divine on their divine job. Plus, the Moors had adopted slavery. Sheikh Sharif Abdul Ali wrote in his little book of Men, through sin and disobedience, every nation has suffered slavery due to the fact that they honor not the creed and principles of their forefathers. This is why the nationality of the Moors was taken away from them in 1774, and the word Negro, black, and colored was given to the Asiatics of Africa of America, who were of Moorish descent, because they honored not the principles of their mother and father, and strayed after the gods of Europe, of whom they knew nothing. Also, look around 47, 16 through 17. Noble Drew Ali said, the Europeans went to the Sultan of Morocco and asked for permission to come over to West Africa, America, to develop this land. They were granted a 50-year mandate to do so. Then the Europeans went to an old Sheikh Caliph of Tripoli and asked him to give them some people to help them to build the Westmorelands. The Sheikh told them to take those Moors because they are not being industrious. In the due course of justice, all things are placed in their true harmony with life. Therefore, as the Moors awaken from their grave of mental slavery, it is paramount with love at its highest to balance the scales to their enslavement with correct resolutions. Which will look around 41, ayat 6 through 13. They must learn to love instead of hate. If one points one finger of scorn to the participants of their enslavement, it will leave three fingers of irresolution aimed at oneself. It is a sin to be black. All people who claim the slave names of Negro, black, colored, knowing the era of slavery abolished these labels with the institution of slavery 1865, still live in sin. The noble prophet said these names have never done them any good, but has always harmed them. They know it not the truth and divine way, and without understanding, they have fallen from the true light into the utter darkness of sin. And there is not a nation on earth today that will recognize them socially, religiously, politically, or economically, etc. In their present condition, their endeavorment in which they themselves try to force upon a civilized world. They will not refrain from their sinful ways of actions, and their deeds have brought Jim Crowism, segregation, and everything that brings harm to human beings on earth. And they fought the Southerners for all these great and examined conditions there, and it is, pardon, so let me read that again. And they fought the Southerners for all these great misuses, the use of the Negro, black, colored slave name. But I, Noble Drew Ali, have traveled the South and have examined the conditions there, and it is the works of my people continuously practicing these things which bring dishonor, disgrace, disrespect to any nation that lives the life. and I am hereby calling on all true American citizens for moral support and finance to help me in my great missionary work to bring my people out of the darkness into marvelous light. This is why Noble Drew Ali said it is a must for all most Americans to keep their hearts and minds pure with love and to learn to love instead of hate. Hell, it was self-hate which all our caused our last fall. Can this be denied? The nations of the earth today are uncivilized and are at seen and unseen wars. They await and are in need of the return of the ancient ones. What modern nations call civilized today is in fact life in reverse. The last prophet in these days recites, Thine entrance into the world, is it not shameful? Thy destruction, is it not glorious? Lo, men adorn the instruments of death with gold and gems, and wear them above their garments. He who begetteth a man hideth his face, but he who killeth 1,000 is honored. Know thou, notwithstanding, that this is an error. Custom cannot alter the nature of truth, neither can opinion of man destroy justice. The glory and the shame are misplaced. Also look around 44 4-7. Still, this is what is labeled as civilized by the nations in the mirrors of today. Yet, amidst this rocky surface rests the Moorish American. Islam, Islam, Islam. I'll give it back to our instructor, Dr. Chedu Amenti Amohezi Sexuel. Islam?
Islam. Can you hear me, grand man?
Islam. I hear you loud and clear. Islam.
Yes, sir. Gratitude. Let us come forth after having already risen, giving praises to the great God Allah, honor to his holy prophet, honor to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali. For those who may be viewing and they see and hear the reading from the book of fire, the exhuming of a nation, a book that you all should place in your library as well. One of the reasons that we come forth with these readings to lay a foundation is so that people will know exactly where we come from as Moors, and why we teach the way we teach and what our particular school of thought is. That way they don't confuse us, with organizations, fraternal orders and social clubs and so forth and so on. We are Moorish American government. And so we give a grandiose expression when it comes to our history. And we honor all divine books that were sent for the guidance of humanity. You see, the uplifting of fallen humanity. So we have a very universal outlook when it comes to those things. We honor all true and divine prophets. A term prophet is not limited just to religion. The term prophet was used even in regards to dealing with the Kemetic traditions, if ones know it properly. There's ones who were called the first prophet of Amun. So that's neither here nor there, but we honor all books of truth. And the main measure is that we are showing our people what Islamism is. We're dealing with a universal expression when we say Islamism. And so having all of that knowledge, it doesn't become strange then when you see us demonstrating from the Kemetic aspect. There's a time and place for every special level of teaching, be it dealing with the linguistics and etymology and philology, orthography. We can go into many different aspects of what we talk about when we deal with language. But we can also get on many different levels. So it's good to know the history. So when you hear us doing this and bringing it forth, you can hear us giving you a full expression and background with historical roots, that tie when it comes to this knowledge. So what I want to do at this particular time, because we've been dealing with the pronunciation of the language, we've been dealing with the proper way of sounding, and I got a grand drawing, and it dawned upon me, that this is very powerful, because this will actually give us the ability to not only learn the sounds, but really etch the basic hieratic alphabet, or what we call the Medu Re En Kmt, hieratograms, in our consciousness even more. And so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna share my screen, and we'll start it off this way. Let me see here. I'm gonna go entire screen, that way when I move, I can move it. And we see. I want to give honors to our family that's out there again, that's paying attention, and really be attentive to this, because we use the hammer repetition over here to make sure that the people that are watching us can also get a grand insight. Okay, so what we have here, and can you see that, Morris Ken, by the way?
Not
Yes,
the
Lord.
entire screen.
Right.
Okay, I know what I'm gonna do. I thank you for saying that right there. I got to do this here. There we go. Okay, now can you see it?
Islam, gratitude.
Okay, gratitude, Grand National Secretary of the State. So what we did here, family, and this chart already existed. I just basically added the hieratic letters beside the Arabic. And you ain't got to really worry about learning the Arabic, because we done already went into that, and a lot of us are already familiar with it. Some of the people watching may be familiar, so this will give you some grand understanding. But we place this side by side with the facial recognition chart as it relates to these different sounds, so we can make this more comprehensive to those who are paying attention. This has never been done before, people. So this is literally y'all watching, the process and the progress, so to speak, on how well rounded we are with this demonstration. Now, the most powerful aspect of this is that we can apply, the 7-letter harmonics to this. Y'all remember it, the alif, ba, ta, ta. Let me blow this up too, by the way, and I can move it, and we would say alif, alif, alif. Both of these represent A's. We'll get into it in a minute, the distinction between it. But I just want to go through the sound and the phonetics. So it's alif, ba, ta, ta, jim, ha, ka, right? Y'all already know. Dal, zol, ra, zay, sin, shin, sa, right? We have do, to, zo, ein, rein, fa, qaf, right? Kaf, lam, mim, nun, he, wa, yeah, right? Even though I don't have those sounds on there, this is actually the way it goes. This ain't something we made up. Matter of fact, I'm gonna do this right here. And this is not in the abjad. It's not in the abjad chart. They have charts with abjad in it. We just giving you the sounds. This is how they are mostly always placed there. And the reason being, it looked like they was putting all the sounds that were similar beside each other, for purposes of learning, I would guess. And some people spell things different. But see, it's alif, ba, ta, ta, jim, ha, ka, dal, zal, ra, zay, sin, shin, sa. Do, ta, za, ein, rein, fa, qaf, kaf, lam, mim, nun, ha, wa, ya. Right? Now, these are vary too, based on the dialect that you're dealing with. You know, like I say, the dialect that I was taught was Egyptian Arabic, and that dialect actually comes from Coptic. So Egyptian Arabic is basically a branch of the Coptic dialect. And so, being that I learned that from the particular brother who taught there, who was a native born Egyptian, you know, I didn't know I was going to end up applying this same dialect later on, you know, to the Kemetic studies, because, you know, that wouldn't be the actual dialect of the modern Arabs when they deal with the Quran. They don't use the Coptic unless they are Egyptian born, and their dialect is naturally that way. You see what I'm saying? So they have a different types. Some people say Fosa, you know, but these are different aspects of it. Some people even use the term Kufic sometimes, depending on who you're talking to. But we do know that Arab itself derived from the Demotic, and Demotic is a branch, you know, of connection to the Coptic or the Hikapta. So when I come forth, like I said, this gives us an expression. You know, again, you will notice it's just as I stated. Some people may say it a different way, but this is again Alif, Ba, Ta, Tha, Jim, Ha, Ka. Notice every one of those that I say, they are basically, as you can see them, right? It's just proper tajweed that I had to learn, because I actually learned these alphabets and have memorized them and everything before I met that brother. But he gave me tajweed, and that's called proper pronunciation of it. But just so happened to be in, you know, and he emphasized that this is this language that the ancient Egyptians spoke, you know, that you are learning right now. You know, I didn't understand the importance of it then, you know, over 25, 30 some odd years ago. I didn't understand it then at that time, because I wasn't thinking, even though I had the Book of the Dead, you know, and all that time, I wasn't thinking about dealing with the Kemetic language at that time, you know. So we just took what we know and we are able to apply it now, you know. So praise be to Allah for opening that particular mindset. But again, we would say dal, zal, and sometimes you'll see this as th in sound shifting, because T and H is interchangeable with D and H. You have to know that. You know, dal, dal, right? Dal, zal, ra, zay, sin, sheen, sa. Da, ta, za, ein, gain. These are two of the hardest ones for certain people to get. You know, I'm from the country down here, so, you know, we used to say ain't. Like, I ain't giving you that, ain't. And so that was easy for me to get that one there. Ein, Gain, Fa, Quaf, Kaf, Lam, Mim, Nun, Ha, Wa, Yeah, right? And so basically I put this sequencing together. You know, I say, well, let me go 7 letters, you know, per alphabet, you see? And I went through the 7, and that's how I was able to memorize it. I put it in a song form. Y'all know how we demonstrated. Alif, ba, ta, ta, jim, ha, ka, dol, zol, ra, ze, sin, shin, so, do, to, zo, ein, gain, fa, quaf, kaf, lam, mim, nun, he, wo, yeah. That's how I memorized it. That's the repetition. You see, I put it in a song form. That's a key to people that like to memorize certain things, right? So the whole purpose of this is to connect one, again, to the language by the sound. So I didn't need to have that right there in front of me, being that I know the alphabets in the Arabic. You know, that's why you heard me say alif, ba, ta, ta, and go through all of the measures and do it. And the thing is, the exercise of this, being able to do that while having, you know, the hieroglyphs next to it, is very powerful. So we say aleph. You know, normally say, okay, this is ah. You see? And this is ba, right? Ta, right? Tha, right? Then we come down here, Jim, because J, this would be the letter J in Arabic, is interchangeable with the letter G. So in Arabic, you see and when you see the abjad order, it's A B J D instead of A B G D. You see? Let me show you what I'm talking about. We always tell you, family, that this is, let's see if they, let's see, get one in there. And it'd be hard sometimes to find them abjad charts. I actually got some already in my measure. I'm just trying to pull one up since I'm right here. Because they took them out of the abjad chart when they put them in the order that I was just giving you. Let's see. Let's see here.
Dr. Shaheed.
Uh-huh.
Is Dr. Mustafa Guatala, is his in that abject order that you're talking about?
He have the abjad dealing with the other sounds, but
Okay.
he got a bunch of different charts, so he may have one in here. But I have some. I'm gonna probably pull it up right now.
Okay.
Because that it's hard to find them in here. For some reason you don't really see them. They only have it in that way that I just gave it.
Right.
I got it. I just was trying to see if I can pull it up from here. And I had to dig deep to find that myself. So I got it. Yeah, see, they got it mostly in this form that they got it in now. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just go ahead and do this right here real quick. And open up. Let's see. This is that document. No, not that one. Yeah, because I got them all in my I'm trying to see here. Okay, I think this one might be it here. Okay, not that one there, not that one there, not that one there. Okay. Let's see here. That one there is off as well. They do have it here in this Mauritanian Arabic, but they had a G in this particular area here for the sound. Hold up, let me get this other one up here. Because Mauritanian Arabic is its own dialect too as well. Let me do it this way. Okay, trying to find this here. Universal key, basic pathway, stolen legacy, transliteration. I'm trying to find out. Not that one there. Happy Chris. Okay. Let's see if it's this one. Is it that one? I got so many files in this thing here. Okay, hold up. All right. Let me see, was it this one? Nope, it wasn't that one there. the world that thing is? Okay, not that one. Not transliteration. What in the world? I'm trying to find. Not that one there. Where's that ABGD alphabet? I had it in here where I had all of them in here. And I was going. I done got so many off in here, I can't even find the okay, not anymore. Not the principal transliteration. Transliteration, nope. Not that one. I'm gonna try this right here. Let's see what. And basically, I'm trying to show y'all the difference between the two, but just know this right here. And I'm gonna have to pull that up a little later. But just know what we talking about is the difference between the J and the letter G. In the Arabic, there is no letter G. So the letter G is basically demonstrated as J. And that is called, let me see here, it's called Jim. In this particular dialect, if you notice here, for example, these have closer Kemetic values to them. In this Arabic that is from Mauritania. This is a Mauritania dialect of Arabic, right? And if you notice, they have a letter G in the chart here. But you won't find that in the Arabic of Saudi Arabia. You see? And also they have this, for example, ch, right? You can see the Kemetic aspects of these things here. You know, the PH, y'all seen me actually put that in our demonstration before. But they have it here, but it just ain't, even though they got a little abjad up here, you see they put the G here. Again, this is the Mauritanian Arabic right here again. But if you come up here and you scroll through all of this here, and then you compare it to, where is it? And these are different forms too, family, of the Coptic too as well. All those things that are called Egyptian right there, these are different expressions of the Coptic alphabet. And all of those are not even in their abjad order. See, they even got the ABC aspect right there. So all those are different expressions as well. Let's see here. I know that's all Coptic right there. It's one of the papers that I had, and I had all of the alphabets on it. It had the Arabic and every one of them. So basically, again, let me go back here. We'll do it like this right here. I can just show it to you right here. See right here in the Arabic charts that they have. Come on, you crazy computer, you. All right, see, this is the letter J, Jim. There is no G when you deal with the expression of the abjad. The Gain is not an alphabet. You see, that's more like a punctuation expression right there. But let me pull this right here. And they will express that out. So this is it right here, though, your Jim. is the one that you will have here. So let me go back over here to our chart where we were. So that's why you see me with this and this here. You see, interchangeable between each other. So we will use this for the j sound that comes from the waj. You see. Now, what I'm gonna do is if we can go in that same pattern that we did when we went through the 7, the alif, ba, ta, tha, jim. Once you able to memorize that, I know y'all already know how to say it. So once we go through these special measures here and you compare them to these heratograms, it'll give you the better ability of being able to pronounce them as they should be pronounced, basically, based on the way that we gave it. So what I want to do, I want to see if our family can open up the line real quick and just go through these ones. You don't have to be able to see it. You'll know it by me pointing it out if you memorize. I know a lot of y'all had it memorized too, right? Let me make sure my scribes had this on there because I don't want to assume. Islam. Yeah, did y'all memorize these here? Not the symbols, I'm talking about the sounds. The alif, ba, ta.
Oh, yeah.
You memorize that, brother?
Islam.
Okay, so I guide you from the letter A, and I want you to bring forth the sound as I move down. You ready?
Islam.
No, I'm talking about in the alif aspect.
Okay.
Ba, ta, tha, that way.
Islam. Alif.
Okay.
Ba. Ta. That. Alif, ba, ta. Alif, ba, ta. Jim.
No, Jim is here.
No, Jim is the next one. Alif, ba, ta, da.
I tell you how you can remember these two. Ta as in 2 and tha as in 3. 3
Ta.
dots, 2 dots.
Okay.
See? So
Islam.
that's ta
And
you
ta.
see? Right. Yes, sir. And then Jim.
And okay.
Okay.
Islam. Alif, ba, ta, jim, ha, ka, da, da. No, that's
You're almost there. Remember, this is da. So this would be similar, but you adding something to it. You got that.
Yeah, because I'm getting confused because I'm thinking about, you know how to say Darlene and Zaline?
There you go.
I'm thinking of Zal, but I thought that was up there. Zal, Dad, Zal, Ra.
You close, but it's more Zay.
Ze.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Sheen. Seen.
You did it backwards. It's actually
Seen and Sheen.
right.
Sa.
Sod.
Sod.
Yes, sir. Then this one here.
Da.
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 Yeah.
Zal. Da, Zal. That's Zal.
Right. You got them right. Da, ta, za.
Ein.
Yep.
Gain. Fa.
Yep.
Qua.
That's
Ka.
right.
Lam. Mim. Nun. Ha. Wa. Ya.
That's right. That's right. So we see you just got to practice and then, but you can see how it actually allows you to hold on to the heterogram a little better.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? For some reason, I know it do with me. I can hold on to it even better for as dealing with the sound. I can put the sound spot on, as opposed to trying to just deal with the putting the English expression on the side of it and saying, okay, but we're gonna go into that in a minute, getting into the deep emphasis, of these sounds. And I got something that I've been looking for a long time, and I actually had to put the hieroglyphs to it too. Y'all will remember when we go into it. But that's a grand job, Brother Bati Bey. These things are important. You ain't gonna really learn it, without going into the essence of, learning these basic things here. Notice we putting the sounds to the hieroglyphs and not pictures. So gratitude, scribe. All right, next scribe. Y'all want to give a crack at it?
Islam.
Islam, Brother Marvin Edwards Bey.
Okay, yeah, we can go.
Go ahead.
Eh,
Hold up. Remember, we're going into the Alif by Ta.
okay, you want to go Aleph? Okay, Aleph.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Aleph. Ba, te, te, ge.
Nope. Remember, no G.
Oh, we're going to go J, Jim,
J.
Jim.
That's right.
Okay. He,
Uh-huh.
ke,
Uh-huh.
de,
Uh-huh.
de,
Right.
re, zing, sing, shing. Well, I can't see the bottom. Okay. Sad.
Side. Yeah, side. That's right.
Side. Okay. Okay, you got dog, tall, sing, aim, game, fair, call, call. They kind of interchangeable almost.
Yeah, that's calf.
Cat. Okay, go cat.
Calf. That's right.
You got limb,
Who?
limb,
Lum.
lum. Okay.
Yep.
Meme, nim,
Nun.
noon.
Yes, sir.
Okay. He,
Uh-huh.
wa,
Weh.
we. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Islam. And y'all, I like that. So that's what I'm talking about. When you see the difference when you appropriate the sounds with the herodogram, it seem to give you ability to hold on to the sound and identify with the symbol a little better, Brother Marvin Edwards Bay?
Yes, sir. It does.
And that's just rather than just putting, the Aleph by Ta. If you do that right there simultaneously, it's gonna sharpen your Arabic up, and it's gonna sharpen, your hieratic up.
Right.
Two birds with one stone. Our methodology. Rome didn't teach us this.
That's right.
Islam, great man.
Islam.
All right. What about our goddesses and queens, the high priestesses?
Islam. Dr. Dendra and E.A.R.S debate. I was looking at that other chart that you have. I was trying to follow along with you, so with them, and I hope I got it. I wrote it down right. I got it right. But anyway, I give it a try.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Alif, Ba, Da.
Ta.
Alif, Ba, Ta, Da, Jim, Ha, Ka, Da, Do, Ra, Za, Sing, Shin, Shad,
Sod.
Zod. Okay. Da, Ta, Da, Ein, Gwain, Fa, Qua, Ka, Lain, Min, Noon, He, Wa, Ya.
Good. Sister Dendra. Ania Curtis Bay. Grand draw and Sister Scribe. All right. Now, what about our Grand National Secretary of State? I know she said now.
Now, you're right about that. All right. I'm still
Come on,
scribing.
Grand
I
Secretary.
got it written down. Gratitude. Aleph, Ba, Ta, Tha, Jim, Ha, Ka, Dal, Dal, Thal, Ra, Zay, Seen, Sheen, Sod. Dod, Ta, Za, Ein, Gein, Ba, Quaff, Cough, Lam, Mim, Neen,
Noon?
Ha, Noon. Oh, sorry about that. Noon. Ha, Wa, Ya.
Islamism without the schism. And so, it was kind of strenuous to try to put this thing together too. I hope y'all know that right now. With me having to put this together right here and put them on the side of this, it took a little time. And but I will show you something where you see the sounds next to hieroglyphs that are similar. It is because they share some connection in the sound shift. You see, for example, right here when you see tha, 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 there's a connection, believe it or not, between the tha, the za, and the sad. You see, and the sat. As far as dealing with the connection in those sounds, you can go into Mustafa Gadala's book and you'll see exactly what I'm speaking of. You see, and it's the same thing with the da and the t. You already know that anyway. You know D and T is interchangeable. You see, so the sound shift definitely shows some connection. In this particular measure, I actually have to add another symbol here for the serpent because this, believe it or not, this letter F actually seemed like it shares the original symbol, which is the serpent, the little viper. You can see a connection to that in this font right here, which is the letter F in the Egyptian. I'm going to show it to you in a second. But what I want to do is to, now that we have these sounds on point, the reason why I place these beside each other so that you can go through this special chart. Now that you have the knowledge of it, okay, we see this particular letter A and this particular letter A. You know, as you see, there's always two of them that you see in the Kemetic language as well. But this one here, one is more like a soft A and one is a hard A. But you can see the connection here. If you look here, right? And then when you come down here, and you can see it's being expressed from here. So now that you have the sounds, you know where you're expressing them from. And you can actually feel it when you say aleph, aleph. If you were to feel your neck, you know, you're going to feel more vibration coming from down here in this area. You see? Ein. You see? Ein. And that's coming from here. Hold up. And so then we have also the ba. We already know ba is here. That's your letter B. That's ba, right? Then when we come over here, we have ta. So ta, as we can see, is right here. I want to try to show the comparisons. See, that's ta. And that's ta, right? And if you look at where the line is going, it's taking you to here because we already know when you say ta, automatically when you say ta, your tongue going right here to the roof of your mouth. We talked about this already, right? But there's a connection between ta, right? Ta and tha. That's the sound shift that we was talking about, that D, D, and the T. And so when you see the ta here, we see it's connected there. You see, then we see that other ta, the other T. Let's go find it. It's right here. You see? And so that's why I have this symbol here in the hieratic as being the same with this symbol here. You see? And then if we go down to the D, I also have it as being the same as this symbol here. So they all connect here. That's how I was able to map the sounds. You see what I'm saying? I looked at the chart and then mapped them accordingly. So that's ta, ta, and then we have da, da, da. You see, as we said, right? And that's this particular portion. So as we go on down the chart, we know this is tha. There's your T and H right there. But this connects to the za, because you can hear the H, za, right? Zay, zay. So you see these, all of those are connected as well. So that's why I have that there. See the three? There it is. Now look at the heratogram. Now when we go to za, you see, we already see the connection here as well. TH is interchangeable with ZH. DH as well in certain cases, right? And then when we come further, we see the Z here, za. And you see that letter as well in the same group. And then if we go to the other expression of the za, the sad here, then we see another expression. And all of those have the same expressions, you know, mostly. So let me see here. We can go into, what was that other one under it? That's the gem. And of course, the gem, you can see that it's being expressed from here. Not there, I'm sorry about it. I'm confusing it with the car. Give me. I do that, and then we can do that too, family. I used to get it confused all the time. It's actually J, the ka, and the ha. You know, the difference between the J is the dot in the middle, and the ka is the dot on the top. But anyway, so this is your gem. And notice they having it being interchangeable with the letter Y as well. You see? And we already know that the J, the Y, and if you go in certain language, they'll put I there. Like in the ancient Kemetic aspect, they'll be putting I in there as well. But these sounds are sound shifting, and they change, and they also have a connection between each other, so to speak. So we have here ha, right? That's your ha right there. We see where it's coming from. Then you have your ka, right? And that's your ka right there, right? Notice I have two sounds, you know, as they relate to these two hieratograms. You know, sometimes they call this the lining of an animal's belly, and this is supposed to be placenta, you know, when you get into the anaglyphs. But nevertheless, notice it's ka. So you see the ka here, you see ka, ka. Whether you ka in beginning or lock, L-O-C-H, right? Or this. When you see this, this is not X. This is also ka, that ka sound. It's just showing it from the different variations. And based on the dictionary that you're using, they're going to be using one of these sounds. You know, so fret not if you don't see this in a dictionary or you don't see that. It's based on who they getting their information from and what sound that they chose to bring it forth in most cases. Okay, so we have dal, a da, dal, right? Dal. So we look for this expression. We already showed you it's up here. Zal, we already showed you that's over here. Where's the other net? You got your Ra, Ra, Ra. Where's the Ra? Right here. That's the letter R, Ra. Dol, Zol, Ra, 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 Zay, Sin, Shin. Like I said, you want to stop that road from going too far. That's a real sign that you really have to deal with and really practice on. But then we actually showed this already, the Zod. We already know what that is. Sod, Sod. And always remember the Sod, pardon self, seen, I meant to say, seen and sheen. They are always similar, but this one has 3 dots on it and this one doesn't. And there they are right there. See, that's the scene, right? And they connected that also with the Sod, which is also connected with Zod, so S and Z can be interchangeable as well, as you can see right here. See, Sod, Sod. So, as we go on, we already mentioned this one right here, but to show it to you on the chart, the Sod, here it is here again. Now let's go over here. Do, to, zo. What about the do? You see the letter here? So where's your expression coming from? Right? Right here. Ta, ta. Right here. All of these have a connection to each other to a certain extent. And so there's your dog, 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 dog. You can see the difference between them. I just wanted to make an emphasis on that. You see? Ta, zaw, as we just went over a few minutes ago. We don't have to do that one. Then we got the ein, ein. Notice that looked like a letter E almost. This looked like a letter E with a dot on the top of it. Right? So we know we can recognize this here. That's the ein. So then you have, right? And notice all your vowels coming from deep down here. That's your ein right there, above your ein. But your vowels come deep from in the glottal. Right? But anyway, as we go on, we see here phi. And I got that, like I say, I'm gonna put that other heratogram next to this as well, redo the chart and drop that in there so it'll be there as well. Because that's 2 different signs that actually refer to the expression of the heratograms that you can use for when you see them. They both represent the letter F. I'm gonna show it to you when I get into the sounds chart that get a little deeper into detail. Okay, so we already know that's phi, but also the letter P or PH. Actually, that's basically F. If you were to push P and H out at the same time, it would be phi, phi, phi. Like I was showing you when I showed you the chart of right here. I'm gonna show it to you. When I was showing you this chart right here dealing with the language of the ancient, here we go, the Mauritanian dialect, how they had it right there. See how they had a P and H right here. And like I say, if you look at these, you can see they definitely retain a lot of their Kemetic, Coptic linguistics. So let me go back to my little chart over here so we can go through this and I can get to this other drawing I gave y'all. These gonna be our best friend family when it comes to properly pronouncing these things, because that's one of the things the European will tell you. They don't really know how it sounds, how it's supposed to be pronounced. So we are using these sounds. And when you hear people saying that they can teach you the ancient Egyptian language with Somali, or they can teach it to you with, other Bantu language, this is because they have long words just like many other cultures. And if they understood it, they understand that these are not keys of a one-way decipherment, so to speak. Like you're going to do something different than what has already been done. This actually has to do with showing you that the ancient Egyptians, we're a nation that everybody borrowed from, and so we shouldn't have no problem with it now. I'm talking about from the Hebrew culture to the Arabic culture to India, all of them, especially when it come down to these linguistics. But we'll get into it later. So this is also Quaff, Quaff. And we already know when we go over here, there's your Quaff right there. And then the next one gonna be Kaf. So it's right above the Quaff. Quran. You see? QK. So we can see it here. Kaf. Okay, so this is Lam. And when we come over here, we know the L is interchangeable with the letter R. All of these things are grouped in such a way that they are close to each other. The sounds that are more related to each other to a certain degree, right? That's why you see the Ra and the La right here. Okay. Mim. So we see the Mim. When we go through each one of these, you're going to be able to find on the chart. I took my time to make sure. And see, you have your Mim right here. Come back over here. And that's your Mim. See, that's the Arabic letter. That's your Mim. Then we have Nun. Nun. That's your letter N. And obviously that's right here. Nun. We can see where they're coming from. Pay attention to where this line is going. And you will notice that in most cases, either your tongue is going to touch that particular area, or you will feel, the vibration from your expression coming from that particular area. You see? So here's he. That's the letter H, he. So we can find that particular letter H right here, where the Adam's apple is, he, right? This is the heratogram we already know. Okay, then we have Y, and there are a couple of different expressions, just like you got two letters here, and we have them both here, like they should have been with the F. Y, these are the two letters that are used to express, this. So keep that in mind. They were kind of small, blow it up a little bit there. So there go your Y there. You can actually see a connection to this one right here. Some of these letters really didn't lose their form too much, because if we were to go into the Aku, we would probably find the exact letter, as it is. I wouldn't be surprised. You see, so Y. Let's go up here and find the Wa right here in front of the Mim. That's your Wa. We know it's coming from here as well. And for those who don't know, in sound shifts, unbeknownst to many, sometimes the P is interchangeable with B, but M is also interchangeable. That's why if you go into some of like E. Wallace Bud translation, he be talking about the Mer. And then they have the term Berber. You see, which took on a whole totally different name when the Arabs got hold to that. They start calling people barbarians and all that, Berbers. Mir. There's a Mimmer, in the Kemetic language. The W. That's a powerful demonstration there. Voodoo, like the cleansing process. Okay, and last but not least, we see the I and the Y here. They didn't show the J, because J is up here with the gem, but I and the Y, that's the expression. And if you can see it down there, this little curvature here with the two dots up under the bottom. Let me show you. They actually have an expression of it right here too. Okay, so let's find it up here. Again, it goes right back here where the J is, the Y and the J. So those are the sounds, and I put this together so that ones can use it to practice, just like we did together. Whether we know it or not, the vowels really come from within the alphabet itself. See the aleph there, right? You know, even though they isolate them. See the W, you know, you go back to where we was a few minutes ago. There you go, that's your W, you know, and you have your Y right here. So that's 3 vowels that were taken out in the Arabic. They have an A, U, and an I. You don't see E in there. Some people will translate certain things like that to us over here, you know, because we deal with English, but, you know, they don't deal with the E like this right here. And they doing it right here, for example, you know. But normally this is the way that they demonstrate it, and they give this expression to show you the difference between long vowels and short vowels. It's the only way, but you ain't going to see a lot of words, you know, in the original way. Most of them, it's the I there or the Y that's there. That's why you see, like most cases in the Arabic, it's I mean, and they'll have A M I N instead of A M E N. You see what I'm saying? But nothing wrong if you put that in there. But it's based on the rules and the grammar of the language that you're dealing with. We see Amen in the Hebrew. We see Amen, you know, but it's based on that there. Amen goes back to Kemet. And a lot of the stuff, once you go to seeing this here, you're going to see that all language is one in essence. So, like I said, it took me a minute to put this together, you know, with this sign. But I'm just taking what we have and bringing it together so it's more comprehensive, because our people are able to, you know, go deeper into the visuals more than anything. You see? And Arabic is one of the easiest things to read, you know, once you learn it, you know, like we can see right here, this is letter A, you know, L, N, you know, that look like the letter G right there, M, T, you know, A, S, W, T, Y, T. You know, you can see these things right here. I'm just going into how we can deal with 2 expressions at one time, so to speak. So now that we have that on the manifest and our people are seeing it, yes, that's true, Sister Niambi. That's right. Yep, the English alphabet came from a long way down the line by the time they got into what they call, you know, the Latin and all of that right there, which they go back to the Greek, and the Greek is really Phoenician, you know, and Phoenician is actually where they started the sounding expression from, though the actual symbols go back further than that when we get into dealing with Kemet. You know, but Phoenicians was a Cushite people as well. So that's right. Now, this is what I want to go to. And matter of fact, before we move forward, let me ask my scribes if they have any questions or comments, you know, on this particular portion. Islam.
Islam, none at this point in time. Islam.
Okay, Islam. Yeah, we just want to make sure our family, because I know sometimes things may come up while we demonstrating, and more may want to come forth. So let me show you this, family. I used this a long time ago. We already know when we see anaglyphs up here, we just reverse engineer them in place, and that's what I did. This is the actual site from years ago. You took a drawing from, you know, and there's some good information in here. You already know some of this information is going to be based on, you know, what they call Egyptology, you know, as well. But y'all know how to sift through here and pull out what needs to be pulled out in order for one to get a draw. And I'm going to give you some here. How we talk about that abjad. Look at this right here. That's abjad right there. That's the ABJD. You can actually see it if you pay it. It look like an upside down J if you were to take it and turn it the other way, because that's what they do sometimes. That would be the letter E. You see, they just added that in there as well. But this gives some good background. If you want to go into this special measure, give a history on what they was doing, as far as all the different languages they were dealing with. You hear me talking about Coptic. See, this is the word Copt in Arabic. Kibit, Cop. You see? Demotic writing, it talks about that. How, they was converted to Christianity and they ceased to use the script. But certain texts were also translated in what they called Old Nubian, which is Coptic. So all them books they talking about was Greek. They really Old Nubian and so forth and so on. And y'all know how to differentiate. And this is why you always hear me say that Coptic is Hikapta. Even though they trying to apply this, we know that this is a formula. We already know this is formula here when you break it down in the sound aspect. Ain't got nothing to do with the pictures, everything to do with the hieratic. But that's a whole nother measure. But this is the transliteration. Hikapta. You see? Hikapta. You see? That's why we say that's the original way of saying Coptic. And so in this particular chart here, they actually have all the sounds, but they put these sound values next to the pictures. Like I said, we reverse engineered it. We have the hieratic here. You see? So, I'm giving y'all this site so y'all will know where we came from, because we used this in our early stages when we started teaching the Moors. And a lot of this was actually before some of our scribes had arrived here. I know our Grand Secretary of the State may remember this. A long time ago, before we got deep into the language, we had touched on this. But what I did, as you can see, they got a lot of this stuff showing you how it's pronounced here in detail. But they actually have Arabic in here using the same thing. As you can see, the iron and all of it is up in here. So what I did is I went over here. Y'all know I'm gonna bring it home. And I put what was supposed to be there. Because we don't deal with the pictures as sounds. We know the pictures represent metaphysics. But we know that they use those pictures to bury these hieroglyphs. They use the anaglyphs to bury the hierogram. They call the anaglyphs, they call them hieroglyphs. So here, to express this special measure, which is often seen as a letter A, right? And they say this represents the picture of a vulture in their thing. It says this represents the sound of a glottal stop, right? Which is a brief closing of the windpipe. It says like a little cough, right? This is the Hebrew aleph and the Arabic hamza, or what they call aleph as well. It says, or the English Cockney pronunciation of T in the bato, like olive. You see what I'm saying? Olive. That's how you want to pronounce that. So it says a special symbol is used for this in transcription type fonts. And y'all seen it, that little 3 looking symbol that represent the letter A. But it says also in the ASC second text, or 2, the second, it says use the number 3. This can also be represented by the glottal stop IPA symbol, which we seen that, especially if we looked at the Demotic and all of that. The Egyptological symbol, which looks a bit like a 3, now is the Unicode symbol. Then it goes into Loprino, page 31 points out that 3 corresponds to the R in the Semitic language. As for an uncertain period of Egyptian history, may have been some version of R, and they just going through the different aspects of the sound. But nevertheless, this is the ah sound, aleph. Then we have here, if you go into this portion, they don't even have them in order. So y'all bear with them. They just put them up here as they are. So this is, we already know this is Y. So it says the picture of a flower and reed, which they always try to say that this is a connection to the reed here, right? In anaglyph. This was the original yay, yay, ya, the palatal glide, right? And could still be written that way. It says, or the German version of Y, and then they're showing you the J. And what they're referring to when they go back to that palatal glide family, all you got to do is refer back to your chart. There you go, right there. That's your Y and your J right there. You see what I'm saying? So you can actually use this to navigate. And I'm going to get this out to our family. You can use this to navigate as well. It gives you a deep study of each one of these letters. It says the special symbol often used for this sound. However, the R is the letter I. It says with an apostrophe instead of a dot. It says in the Y, in the Egyptian, right? It said it was so weak. Excuse me. It says that it was rarely pronounced. It says words in the beginning with Y. It says like the name of the god Amen. See, we was talking about that a few minutes ago. It says simply begin with vowels and the evidence of, and this is the way this thing put it together, family. Excuse the way this thing is. I'm gonna try to put a little more order to this. It says evidence of vocalization that we have. It says how this contrasts with 3. It says an I. It says a good question. You know, Hawk simply says that. Okay, that's what it can be. It states, but some languages, like Hawaiian, make a real distinction between words or syllables in the beginning with a glottal stop and words or syllable beginning with vowels. We talked about that too in some of our classes. We don't have enough evidence about the ancient Egyptian to know if that was the case. You know, so at least they ain't just jumping on nothing. You know, and it goes on just going on and on about this letter Y, you know, and it's going all the way down the screen. How they was able to put that in there and cause it to not interfere with all the rest of the typing. I guess this is what it's being guided by these little brackets right here, maybe from what I'm saying. Islam, grand man.
Yeah, I know they. Those are like columns. Some, I don't know whether it's in Word or one of them. You can set up columns. Then you can actually change the different.
Yeah, when I tried to take it out, it erased the pictogram.
Right. Yeah.
So
Go over.
I'm gonna have to probably go in there and probably play around with it, and then I can pull it out and then get some, you know, make it more condensed, so to speak. That way it ain't running all the way down 2-3 pages. But without it, it was in perfect order. But when the picture's in there, for some reason, it's boxing it out. So this again is another expression in connection to that letter Y. You know, as well, you just see 2 reeds here now. You know, we can even say long expression of the Y, I would say it. You know, and if you go down here and read the information, it's going to take you there further. Remember, we was talking about the Ayin. We can see the connection here. It's telling you where it's coming from, a strong guttural consonant, Ayin, coming straight from the deep in the throat area. You know, so this is going to give you all of the descriptions on exactly, you know, how you can add on to your expression of these measures. You see what I'm saying? From like the Coptic and the connection to, for example, they say Khufu. So you see, we already know this is the W. So U and W is interchangeable. We already know that, right? So that's why you'll see it spelled sometimes KHU, FU, Khufu, and sometimes you'll see it spelled KHWFW. Some people may even put the W here and the U on the end, or the U here and the W on the end. But nevertheless, you know, that's really based on the choice of one that's trying to express it that particular way. And we can see the same thing being demonstrated through all of these charts, family. You know, they showed which they like to always express in the anaglyph. They call it a boot, or the picture of, like they say, a foot. But then this is the expression here in the heratagrams, and they showing what it corresponds to, Arabic and Hebrew. So, this is why we shouldn't have a whole bunch of beefing going on between, the Muslims, the Israelites, and the Kemetic community, because they are connected in many different ways, especially by evidence of the linguistics. The linguistics don't lie. Okay, so this is what I was talking about earlier. This is the sign I said I was going to add to that chart. This is the symbol of the viper, but this represents the letter F. This is the letter P, which you don't see in our chart, but we know P and F is, interchangeable with each other. So this would be a representation of the house, as they like to call it, but this is P. So P and F, if you notice, all of these letters, they place them beside it. Then you got the letter M. The M actually looked like its original self in ancient Kemet. It's just turned in another way that make it look like a 3. We always emphasize that. This is your letter N. Sometimes N and M is interchangeable with each other too. And they depict this, of course, as dealing with water, ripples. But that's a whole nother. This is your R. You already know that. Interchangeable with the letter L, so you don't have to see it. They say it right here too. The picture of they say it represents the mouth, or the sonnet. It says whose varieties can no longer be determined for ancient Egyptians. It says, note that there is no L in Egyptian. This is what they are saying, and this is because the European took the L out, because I have charts where they did have the L in there, and then all of a sudden they phased it out and say, well, it's come into existence during the Ptolemies, or whatever the case may be. They always trying to take credit. I know that much. But it says, Leprino, however, advances the opinion that the contrast between R and L may have not been lost in the dialects. And I hold that. That's what I'm saying. They haven't been lost. Because it's there. Ra, ra, la, ra, ra, ra. You can't really separate them. Ra, ra, ra. Right? So here is the ha. This is a voiceless glottal fricative. Ha, ha. Right? Then we have the picture of a wick and twisted flax is what they call this in the anaglyph. But this is the symbol in the heratagram. And then we already know this is also a letter H. And there it is right there. They're giving you that Arabic expression. Ha. One of the easier ones. And this also is the letter. But this is Ka. Ka. That's your K and H demonstration. That's what they would call placenta. See, there you go right there. Yeah, that's what they would call that. That's your Ka. Ka. Which is most definitely, they say German pronunciation. It's a lot of them in the German language, for real. Ka, ka. Okay, so we have here another one close to this, and that's why you see these two. If you go back to the chart that I showed you up here, I put them together. They are gathered right here. See them there? So you're going to be able to use all this stuff I put in chart form and reference. And this will help you for those who say, well, how do you get the proper pronouncing? It's going to be on the scribes to go and do their own work in pronouncing this. And we're going to all have our own pronunciation anyway, because we speak differently. So things may sound a little different based upon the dialect that we have. Like, I have a southern drawl, and certain people may speak in a more northern accent, so to speak. But nevertheless, at the essence of the measure, the more we practice, the more we will actually be able to go into proper expression of these things. We already know that this is sod, and here it is. Here they let you know that this, what they want to call a folded piece of cloth in the anaglyphs. This is zod, but it's interchangeable with the S, as I was showing you here. They said this here, and these things are not even, these are different sources that we're dealing with. We just able to pull that information together in our own consensus. And I showed that to you as well here on the chart. The S and the Z interchangeable, you know, and you can see it right here. You see what I'm saying? Man, we can't make this stuff up, family. You know, you ain't gonna get it in depth like this right here. None of these cats out here that's teaching on Kemet ain't did the work to go and show you these things right here. Before you start looking at the hieratic, and we done went through the papyri, y'all done seen us do it. You done seen us transliterate papyri and all of that. You see? But eventually we're going to get to a point where we start reconstructing this stuff and we begin to communicate. But all of this is necessary, you know, and that's why we go back and we revisit things. We ain't leaving no stone unturned, family. Not the way we demonstrate. We taking our time. We ain't got to rush. Ain't nobody else doing this but us. Now, we do know eventually you'll probably have people, if they ain't doing it already, coming on here trying to steal and remix, but y'all already know what nobody else out here in this area, in this lane right here, until we start doing it. As of now, ain't nobody, the European included, ain't came out here, you know, in depth teaching this thing like we doing it, because they feel like ain't no need for this right here. You know, but we already know where that narrative come from. So here it is again here. This is your Z, you know. Yes, sir. And see, it said came to be, used to write the S and the S. So they showing the interchangeable aspects of the Z and the S, which I demonstrated that earlier when I showed you the facial recognition of the phonetic chart. So here's another one here. They say this represents a picture of a pool, but this is sh, the sh sound, right? Voiceless, palato avilar, fricative, right? The traditional Egyptological symbol is this. You always hear me emphasize, you know, when you see that little arrow right there on the top of that S, always remember that's S and H. That's sh, right? Then you have over here, you know, which is often depicted as a hill or, you know, a mound. This is the symbol for it here in the heratogram that will correspond to what they tried to reverse engineer from the anaglyph. But this is quaff. You know, we went through that. We see that. Notice the K is right here next to it. You see, which they call it a basket. European come up with all types of stuff, man. They be trying, don't they? And they get it off on most of our people don't know no better. As you notice here, I actually have this symbol for this symbol too, because this is the gem, this is J, but then this right here is, you know, where they would go into a G expression. You know, J and G is interchangeable, you know, and you don't see a G isolated like that. In the Kemetic aspect, you'll find it in the Hebrew and other things, but there's nothing wrong with that. We need to know this is dealing with sound shift. So, and telling you how to pronounce that. And then all of these here is very important too, because this is actually dealing with the letter T. We know T is interchangeable with the letter D. So this is why I showed you these here. This is also another expression. Ch, how they expressing that ch, which is really a T as well. And we actually have that up here. You know, even if you were to go back to the facial recognition chart, and that's it right here. The ch. You can notice the difference by the little dash that's on the side of it. Okay. Let me go back over here to our little chart. So yeah, basically that's, you know, I mean, it don't get no plain in that. It might be plain, and this was the last one, you know. So all of those go through it. I'm gonna get it together, and I'm gonna try to see if I can put it in a more, like I say, compact form. But nevertheless, we was able to use the information that we had, and I had been looking for this for months, family. and I looked up and came across it. They got a lot of good history in here. You know the truth, so you'll be able to separate, the wheat from the chaff, so to speak, when you go into it. I'm showing you where, I came forth with this measure and then I broke it down, because that's what we got to do. They reverse engineered the knowledge and made it what they want to be, so we got to place it back into its original state of what it was. We got to undo what they did. This is literally, the re-education after the miseducation of the Negro, black and colored man. So that's all I want to give right now in that particular area, in sound, but this will aid us in our expression on sound. So what I want to do at this particular time is I want to call forth my Grand National Secretary of the State, Sister Hatshepsut Rakat Ma'at Anpu Tutankhamun Bey. Islam, Goddess and Queen.
Islam, gratitude, National Assistant Grand Sheikh of Moorish America. Having already risen and given praise and honor where due, I just want to give honor to you, Dr. Shahid, for this powerful drawing. Every time I come in this class, it's always a higher degree of elevation, and our striving to get hieratic, the anaglyphs, etc., and return back to that state of mind of our forefathers and be able to comprehend, because we know that this is not a dead language by no means. And for me, the key is, in essence, all language being one, but we can see how when it went to different lands and things of that nature, how you had different pronunciations or possibly different symbols, but you could see the golden cord throughout all of this, which just bringing it in this new era of time, how if you're looking at it from a universal level, you see that it is fruitless to look at each other with hatred, because we are all children of the one Father, the one Creator, our Father God Allah. So if we put that love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice out there, this removes the need for competition, judgment, a whole bunch of argumentation back and forth, because when you actually go back to the root, and even, dealing with archaeological, linguistically, etc., everything is bound by this cord, so it's just a grand measure. And also in the reading, coming from the Book of Fire, and gratitude to our chairman for bringing it forth, when Spirit Man was naming these various aspects of creation, the thing that really stuck out to mind was that they only named it once, and here in this new era of time, we still find the need for the grass is greener on the other side, or, not recognizing the fact that we were given one free national name, and it's not upon us to try to reinvent what the Creator had selected us to be, so this is just a grand class, because you can see the work. I want to give you honor, because in going back and do the study, it's going to make it a little bit easier. Like you said, we got to immerse ourselves in this by you putting these two charts together, the abjad along with the Arabic, and praise Allah, I had written down that Arabic pronunciation. I just have to do more due diligence and putting that to memory. But that's powerful with the hieratic language. And again, you can see the similarities. You can see the unfoldment. So gratitude more. That's a powerful degree. And I appreciate that website too, so that we can further do the background work. Gratitude and peace and love.
Islam and Islamism and gratitude, Grand National Secretary of the State. See, they don't know we don't never hide nothing from the people, and they be give us the source, give us the information, we giving everything to you. But like I tell our people all the time, is at the end of the day, we all working with information that was here before we got here in most cases. Now, some of us may be able to crack the code and go a little deeper into certain things, and what we can see, what we have found more than anything by studying the language alone. I tell people all the time, family, just by etymology, not only do we see the connection between the people and the nation, of the earth, but we also see that we can trace the history through the language. That's one of the ways of being able to trace it back, like you say, archaeologically, so to speak. When we go into that aspect of dealing with archaeology, and if we're able to trace it back, then and connect it to an actual word, like the word like we hear us talk about mirror and more. And we can show you from an etymological standpoint where these words connect to people, places, and things. We can show you where the word more is used to deal with mooring a ship or mooring a tide. We can go back into Kemet and show you the same thing, with the same expression. We can show you, more as it relates to, the sea or waters. And we can take you up into the modern and take you up into the ancient aspect of that right there. You see, these things, are giving us, what we call a working model when it relates to dealing with these linguistics. All you got to do is just be patient and do the research, so we doing this to make it easier. Like I say, and I don't be thinking, let me see if I can put this together. I move as the spirit and the ancestors caused me to move. When I put that chart together, it's something that fell on me out of the ether, so to speak. And so I just move as I'm being dictated, by the ancestors. And so all of these things are gonna aid us. And you'll see, especially when we put this demonstration in one book form, to where people are able to see this and utilize it on their own. This is gonna be a grand contribution to the Kemetic community, those who really serious about it, especially when it comes to dealing with the Medu Re En Kmt. You don't hear nobody talking about the Medu Re En Kmt because they think the Egyptian language is a dead language. Unfortunately, we know that's a lie too. So let us see. We're gonna call forth our Grand National Chairman if he's present. He may be on a mission, but if he here just for us to be able to hear from him, because he was the one that told us Prophet Noble Drew Ali brought us our language. You see, and this is a prime example. You might be think you reading English, but you ain't reading English like the European taught it. You reading English through the eyes of ancient Kemetic lenses. Islam, is my Grand National Chairman on the manifest?
Not at the present time, National Assistant Grand Chief. Gratitude.
Okay, gratitude. Islamism without the schism. Well, all right. Well, let us call forth the other scribes, and we'll seal this demonstration up with the seal. Islam.
Islam.
Okay, Sister Dendra, what have you to say, Goddess and Queen?
Islam. As always, I enjoy my little class and just learning the. I loved it when we was going through the pronunciations and the sounds, and I got to continue to practice that and listen to the playback. To get those sounds, and the picture that you got up there to show us how our tongue go to the roof of our mouth and some of them sounds coming from your lips and all that. And that's such a powerful tool to help us to continue to go deeper into the pronunciations and things of what we are learning. And also when you were saying about the European, they wish that this was a dead language, and see they don't want us to know the truth. And when you was talking about that, it made me think about the when we was in the Piscean area in the church. I forgot what it was in, but when the Tower of Babel, when everybody was speaking the one language, and then they claimed God come down and confound and confounding language and cause them to speak different languages. And but like the goddess say, we all are children of one Father and provided for by his care. I don't understand why, just like what we're doing, Dr. Shaheed, and what you're doing, I don't understand why we all can't come together, not in a combative way, not in a way that, oh, I know more than you. Why can't we just come together like we doing here and just talk and share your information? They share their information, and we draw from each other. I don't understand why we can't come together, because we're all striving for the same goal, that unity, that oneness, and teaching our people the truth, teaching our people that they have been hoodwinked, bamboozled, and run them up, like Brother Malcolm said, with these teachings of the Europeans. And we can see, as the goddess was saying, this is where they got us speaking the way we speak, but they got it from us. And that's and I think about too how our children struggle with math and language and stuff. It's because the European has put his spin on it. That's not the way our ancestors taught it. And I can remember when I was in school, I couldn't stand math. But little did I know, I should have been loving math, because we the one gave mathematics to the world. It shouldn't have been hard for me, but it was. And if the reason it was hard, because the way they was trying to give it to me, they wasn't giving it to me the way my ancestors did. And it's just a honor for me to be in this class, and we give honors to you, as always, Dr. Shahi, for taking the patience and the time that you put in with us. And we love you. We appreciate you. We always want to give you your honors while you can hear us, because we really, I am really, and I know I speak for everybody on our panel, we are really enjoying, we are growing in gratitude for all that you do. Islam, peace and love for letting me share.
And Islam and peace and love for sharing, Goddess and Queen. We give honors to you for that drawing. And we always have to, just in support of what we demonstrate, go into grand measures of showing our family how much information is out here too. This is the age of information. I'm gonna give you a prime example dealing with this language. This is another old piece of work, so to speak. We're gonna show you the date on it. This is dealing with what they call in Hebrew hieroglyphics, and they give their expression on how, they say the Hebrew characters were derived from the hieroglyphics, right? In other words, how the Hebrews created their Canaanite tongue, and they show the exact symbols, and they go into the history of the creation and fall of man, the original pictures that apply to the interpretation of various words and passages in sacred writings, so look at this, family. It's 1835. I'm telling you, we don't play when it comes to this information. We deep dive into this information when we do it. A lot of these people ain't never seen this stuff right here before, but we gonna bring it to you and give it to you as it is. So this is another jewel of the Nile, if you will. And here's some of the examples they were showing you, how they took their letters, from different symbols or whatever the case may be, and evolved their particular alphabet. This is what the Hebrews did. It's way before Champollion and all them, right? And you see that they actually have the abjad here. You see, but they took certain things and created their own particular chart, and they went through every particular alphabet and showed you. You can see where they took these things and came up with their own. I mean, just take a look at it. I'm gonna show you some differences. For example, just looking here. Okay, this right here represented a man running. Now, this is not what the Egyptians originally did when it comes to the sound, but this is where they come from. This is coming off of, actual monuments, so to speak, that they had seen, and they took that and then came up with their expression of letters. And then they added a sound to it. These sounds are not the same as what one try to demonstrate in the hieratic. You see, these are sounds that they created, and then they use these things to evolve it and develop. So we see that different symbols or whatever can be created, and people take from things and create their own. But you don't find alphabet charts that are based off of the pictorials in the ancient Egyptians. These are other people that are creating these things. So like this here, for example. See, if you look at this guy here, notice it still looks like the arm, but it changed a little bit, right? In the way that they brought this symbol here, right? Then you don't really see a real connection to this expression here. You can see somewhat an expression here. They just trying to compare to you where they got these things from. And then how they came up with the different letters, in box Hebrew and Masoretic text, because that's what this is, Masoretic style. This ain't even Paleo Hebrew. So if you just go through it in this particular text, it goes through every particular alphabet and they compare them to, these special drawings here. And that's just the shape now. We're not talking about the sounds and all of that. And, it says here, it has been my opinion that considerable light might be thrown upon the early history of mankind as contained in the 11 first chapters of Genesis by the study of hieroglyphic or picture writing, right? And so when they say picture writing, in all actuality, we know that the book of Genesis wasn't written in picture writing. They just trying to compare the letters that the Hebrews adopted from certain pictures to create their language. But they basically letting you know at root, some of those things can be traced back to, basically all of them can be traced back to pictures that they took off of the side of the drawing. But it says, in all probability, this was the only mode of recording events and communicating ideals until after the separation of the descendants of Noah and the consequent foundation of many distinct nations. Each family or tribe would carry with them the picture history of mankind from creation, just like we have pictures in our photo album. But we don't look at them pictures as being no alphabet, but they saying that basically each family or tribe would carry with them their particular photo album, their picture history of mankind from the creation into the dispersion. And these records would be carefully preserved by them as sacred writings, and says, and were probably the origin of all mythological systems. You see? So before they even communicated, in any form of alphabet, it's saying that the pictures were just out there and people observed what was around them, natural phenomena, basically. You see? Didn't have nothing to do with the alphabet. This is before alphabets originated. In other words, what they are saying sacred, this is they carved in stone different messages about what they observed in creation. Now we can get into the metaphysics of this demonstration, but that's all. But it says, and if this were the case, there must have been a period when the scripture and history preserved by the descendants of Seth and Noah transmitted to Abraham, his prosperity became phonetic. And what they are saying is that later on down the line, an alphabet comes on the manifest after dealing with, looking at observable phenomena. You see, they begin to find a way to communicate, but the pictures, were the phenomena that they was observing. They were not the actual letters that evolved later. It says, and could we possibly obtain a copy of this ancient record, it would undoubtedly throw much light upon many obscure parts of the early history of mankind. Of these nations, some under favorable circumstances of climate, the situation would make much greater progress in literature, arts, and sciences than others. Some would probably remain for a long period with little more knowledge than they derived from their original founders. Some might even retrograde. It says, and not retain that small stock which they commenced. It was saying, it's right here. Throughout this work, the word hieroglyphic is used. It says in this sense, and not in its more correct meaning of sacred writing. So it's making a distinction by the way they use the word hieroglyph. It says, after a few centuries, the literature of each nation, if so it may be called, will be more or less advanced. That is, the system of picture writing will be rendered more simple by a gradual transition from the real image to some emblematical mark of the original. You see? So in other words, the sound never represented the pictures. The sound represented the symbols that were created later, such as, you can go in every language and find different symbols for alphabets, and so that first took place mostly as far as dealing with phonetics among the Phoenicians. That's why they call it phonetics when sound, because you're dealing with Phoenician writings and so forth and so on, which are Cushitic. And that's why I showed you, that's why it says in the Bible, it speaks on the Tower of Babel, and it was a particular alphabet that all the nations have. No matter where you go, they got a copy of that special font that went throughout the whole of the world. And that was the language that was dealing with when everybody was one. The same style that we use to make our language. The Mari, the Medu Re En Kmt that we created for ourselves. So it says, now among these early nations, we have reason to believe that one did advance far before the rest in arts and sciences and literature. Egypt, at a period beyond the reach of any authentic historic records, was a most populous and powerful nation with knowledge to contrive and skill to execute various works which still remain monuments of their former grandeur and excite the admiration and astonishment of the traveler. These people have carried the picture writing to a very high state of perfected, made the important discovery of the phonetic characters. And we can go back to the hieratic and all of that, right? And say this event is now certain to have taken place at a very early period. And then they, of course, going to go into the aspect of Champollion, mentioning him. They speaking in French right here. We can't even read that right now. But it says, when once this important discovery was made, these characters will shortly be reduced to the same or nearly the same as we have found them. The number of consonants does not depend upon the genius of a particular language, but certain organs of the animal. Man, these uniform throughout. It says the whole race, the same alphabet will be applicable to every language. In other words, when you get into dealing with true alphabet itself, pretty much goes in every direction. This is why every nation is borrowing. They wasn't borrowing from pictures. They was borrowing from the hieratic. They was borrowing from the Demotic. They was borrowing from, the Phoenician, like we were saying earlier. It says, this discovery will soon be known in neighboring nations, and in no very long time it will be generally adopted. Each separate people would not repeat the process by which the first inventor had arrived at so happy a result. In other words, they created their own symbols, but they were still based in the same sound when they came up with phonetics. That's why we see the abjad all over the place. Now, the main first letters that always stay the same in all these languages is them 22. But it says, but each would, if I may be allowed the expression, translate their own pictures, it says, into a 2 and 20 sounds already provided for them. In other words, they came up with their own alphabet, not the pictures themselves, but they came up with symbols, you see, that were based off of what they seen. And then those symbols became their alphabet, not the pictures. We have to emphasize that. That way nobody don't get it twisted. It says, and hence it is that we find almost every nation claiming to itself the discovery of letters. Each one, no doubt, may be put in a claim for its honor as far as it consists in having reduced pictures to a phonetic language. After that, the first discoveries had given them the key. And this process would take place in the following manner, And so look at what they said here. They would select from among their hieroglyphics 22. These are different nations now. And we see this because the glyphs that was extracted by the Hebrews are not even the same one they trying to claim are supposed to be hieroglyphics with Champollion. The symbols that they use, these right here, because I actually have them up already too. Where is that? Right here. This is your Hebrews went here. This is where they got the aleph from in Paleo Hebrew. This came straight off of the walls of Kemet. But just because they call this aleph, don't mean that this meant aleph to the ancient Egyptians. They just took from the picture and created this sign. And then
pardon yourself, National Assistant Grand. She can't see it if you have another thing up here.
And right now, literally, it's saying stop sharing. And I'm looking at it right now. So I'm gonna click out of this.
And it's coming up in a small box too.
Yep. Hold up real quick. Let me stop. I'm gonna have to stop sharing and reshare it. Let me get the screen right first. Okay. And I just was sharing the whole screen. So we're gonna reshare it. Let me get my let me minimize this big box here. Okay, there we go. So let me open this up here. Okay. At first, I used to feel slighted when it be doing me like that until I looked at some more people speaking and they thought they were sharing. And they like, man, what happened? I was just sharing the screen. I say, well, Rome ain't built nothing to last. They even got AI on trial right now, so ain't no telling what they got going on. Artificial intelligence, they got it on trial. So, okay, yeah, so this is what we have right here. This is what I was trying to show you. Is that this, for example, they came up with in Paleo Hebrew, or what they call Proto-Canaanite, Proto-Sinaitic, whichever one you want to use. They took this from here, and they say, well, this is Aleph. But the ancient Egyptian didn't say this was Aleph. You see, in the Champollion chart, they say that the letter Aleph is represented, according to Champollion, by a bird. You see what I'm saying? So we know that's an automatic throw off. We know that he's saying two different things. You try to use this and transliterate certain text, it's gonna say something totally different. But anyway, and this is also like the house. And we showed a different expression because this is also Paleo Hebrew, or Proto-Sinaitic, Proto-Canaanite, ancient, as they call it. Here's their particular eagle. Then this is Jim. So that's the letter G to them. You see? And pardon self. And this is right here. This look like a number 7 too. It ain't strange that look like a 7. And then this right here look like a 7. And then the letter 7 is the letter G. Make you think, don't it? This would be the same thing as this particular structure. Only difference is the way this angle is turned. If you were to turn this horizontal, then you will see what they are drawing off of here. You see? So that's where they got that from. Then up here, this represents the upper portion of the entryway, the threshold, this portion right here. And this is their letter that they come up with, the dollar, right? See it here? And that's how they did it. Now, what made them go to looking at stuff like this and creating the alphabet? It behooves me. There we go right here. This is in the temple of Zeta Moon. See the hands raised up. This is a symbol of Shu, holy breath, Ka. You know what I mean? The Masons tried to take it and call it the grand healing sign of distress. But anyway, here's the jet pillar with the Atef crown on it. And then these are actually being compared here. This would represent the head. This would represent the, we can call it spine if you want to. But here's the Y-shaped version. Both of these are interchangeable in that language. You know, let's see here. Same thing here. This was actually the eyebrows, you know, of the brother. Believe it or not. Zayn in the Hebrew, right? Zayn. Okay. Then we have the ket, a het. This represents this structure here. So, I mean, we can just go on and on with this demonstration on what they got these symbols for, and then they put values on it. That don't mean that the ancient Egyptian believed in these as phonetics as they did. No, these people put these on here, and that's what they're referring to. And they went on and on and on and on with it, family. From the hand, you know, to, you know, again, the expression here. And I went through here thoroughly and made sure that I found every sign. I used the pictures and everything that I could find to show you where they got this stuff from off the temples. So just because they assign these signs to it, don't mean that it's the same, because if that were the case, then these sounds wouldn't be different from E.A.R.S Budge, Champollion sound. And we can go into every other language that has created pictures, like the Meroitic. The Meroitic also have pictures in it. But in Meroitic writing, their sounds are not the same, though they have some of these same sounds. You see? So this is what I'm saying. They took from these measures and came up with their own thing. And that's how they came up with, you know, the alphabet. It's that simple. I've been telling our people this for the longest. Look at that. So, yeah, this is powerful, family. You know, we can't make it up. I'm telling you. It don't get no plainer than this. That one's supposed to be there. So, and the sister was talking about earlier, she was like, that looked like, see, they talking about mosaic hieroglyphic. See, a lot of people don't know Joseph was around. Like I tell people, according to the Piscean record, Joseph was speaking metaphysically. He interpreted the symbols. That's why Pharaoh made him, you know, a high priest, so to speak, or what we call, gave him a high name, Zephaniah Paneth. He put a necklace around his neck, a signet ring on his finger. That's what they say. That's where your Masons get all this stuff from. You see, trying to copy Kemet. They got that remix thing going on. So all these things that are being applied to sounds here, if you go into Kemet, they don't mean the same sounds here. You see? In fact, they didn't even apply that. This was these people particular application of the words, you know, and sounds to pictorials. So when we go back here, let me get back to our document. This is why they said they would select from among their hieroglyphics 22. Remember I told you the basic levels of the 22 always stay the same, and then they may add a few letters, you know, and it says each one being the representative of the letter and containing that simple sound. For example, suppose they had among their characters a picture of a lion. In their languages, this beast was called Li. They would take this figure to represent the letter L. These are people outside of Kemet now, not the Kemites themselves. Different nations, and all of them got a different meaning. One person, it may mean Li. Next person, it may mean Wa. Next people, it means Sa. You see what I'm saying? And they created their own alphabets. You see, and that's what made Champollion figure, oh, well, we can do the same thing. No, you can't. You don't want to read reverse engineer, you know, the hieratic. But it says they take this figure to represent L, and wherever it appeared, it would become the letter L. And again, suppose that they had a picture of a face, In their language, it was called pay. And then the same manner, they would obtain a character for the letter P. And if they had a hieroglyphic of a cup, and it was called Na, and they would from it obtain the figure of the letter N. And preceding this, it say would obtain 2 and 20 letters represent all sounds of the alphabet. Now, after they had selected these, it says there would probably remain other pictures. It says, but with these processes, the process would be very simple. Each figure would be changed. It says that the letter which contained its sound. For example, suppose they had among their characters a picture of a foot, and it was called L. They would, wherever they met, would render it by the letter L. So these are all people, family. If it's going into the history in this particular measure of what they did, to obtain different meanings of letters. He goes into many different aspects of it. And then they talk about the creation and fall of man and representation of dealing with the metaphysics, and pictures. It's a powerful demonstration, breaking down all these different things on what they represented in the Hebrew language, like how we be talking about strong words. They talk about long words. They talk about, how everything came from Kemet. I just say, man, it's out here. All you got to do is dig for it and look it up. We can't make this stuff up, though. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to stop sharing this real quick. And then we'll go to our other scribes and close it out. Islam. Brother Scribes. Islamism without the schism.
Was the secretary coming on?
Oh, I didn't hear Secretary of State.
I just thought it's some more. Okay. Gratitude. Yes, sir. This is Dr. Marvin. That was big. Praise none have been given. A very powerful class. You pretty much laid it out as to how the language has been changed. You know what I mean? It might have been just an organic type of thing, but along with the changes came along the attitudes or, the understandings and reflecting back on when the class started, when we were reading in the Exhuming of a Nation, that shouldn't be anyone in the audience to say, go against what had happened. Like the time when we was in Spain, and after being there for so long, we started going along with the Europeans. That's how we began to say, turn our backs on the great God. That's how we ended up where we did. And it's so complicated now. It took a mastermind, an Egyptian adept like our prophet, to come and explain, show us, and lead us, into a higher understanding of where we are and where we need to be. And this most American government is continuing that, as well as this class, because you're going into the actual language where it's been stated that the language, traces back to the people. And that's the closest thing. That's the most accurate way of identifying, say, the people. But of course, we have to purify our hearts and minds, in order to accept a lot of these things that we're coming into now. So we can't escape that, But you laid down a powerful framework, and you also charted a way of getting back to ourselves, in this language. And you pretty much reiterate, that we need all the help we can get to break open this, process that had taken place. And I just commend you, God, man, for all that you do. And in fact, you continue to revive my commitment, in this. I know I'm in the right place, but I got to continue to strive as our National Advance Secretary of State say, we still got to strive because there's a lot we have to contend with. But it's mostly ourselves. Gratitude. Gratitude for allowing me to speak. Islam and peace.
And Islam and peace to you as well, grand man. Yeah, this is a powerful draw. And you see what our sister E.A.R.S say. She say the Book of the Dead was just as mind-boggling to her as the King James Version of the Bible. And that's true, because they have truth and falsehood strangely mixed. Truth is that they use the hieratic to get the transliteration and then put pictures out there to throw the people off. Oh, they played dirty. They played dirty when they did that. And our people forever now messed up, stuck, thinking that they supposed to be dealing with trying to decipher, the pictures rather than understanding. No, these pictures have deep scientific formula. This is basically being able to study the book of creation. Know thyself and thy God. You see what I'm saying? So the thing is getting our people to accept it and come up out of that consensus that the European had already did what was necessary to come forth with a transliteration, so leave it alone. That's basically what they're saying. Because they ain't got it in them to want to go in there and try to learn nothing. They content with where it's at. They're almost becoming like Bible thumpers in the Egyptology community among our people. They just like the people that we was trying to bring up out of that biblical mindset, of being stuck on what King James said. They the same way when it's coming now to dealing with, those who are dealing with the Kemetic teaching. They want to hold on to what E. Wallace Bud said. Nothing wrong with reading what he said. And that's how they interpret it. When I make these statements, they want you to believe that I'm going at the European from a racist standpoint. I don't read it. No, what I'm saying is now that you read what the European said, now what you gonna do about it? You gonna just listen to what he say and run with it? But you question us every day. You question our scholarship every day. But you don't want to question what Rome say. I got a real problem with that. I ain't gonna lie to you. You gonna question our ancestors or any of our scholars that do something, but Rome said, leave it alone. That means that you, though you claim to be Pan-African, though you claim to be so Kemetic, deep within your mind, the slave master seed and the slave master still drumming in your head, the slave master song. Big fat. You can call yourself Kemetic this and, all this and that and that and that, but, really, we already know what's going on up in there. We call that neo-colonialism. And so what we are doing, what we call this is decolonizing the hearts and minds of our people. You see? And it's going to grow on them in due time, though. So Islamism without the schism. And we heard the sentiments, why we can't just come together and build. We don't have no problem with that. It's just those ones are content in what they demonstrating and they think they already know. So for us to come together, it's going to always turn into an argument with them, not me, but it's going to turn into an argument with them because they're going to be trying to prove how the European right based on the information they done read about Rome. But just by virtue of me being able to see what they done did, and now I bring it to them and show them, look, bro, this is what happened. Look at what these people did. No, we don't accept that. I'm like, but if somebody would have did this in a university and they had a PhD or a bachelor's, then they accept the information as if that paperwork in any institution that them people deal with make their information and they research more better. They doing the same thing you doing. What make them greater than you because they in a building? That's insane for people to think like that. Our people actually get into the mindset where they believe if somebody wasn't in a European institution or a building, they research somehow is greater than yours. That's ignorant when the same people using the same information, unless you're going to do your own ground work, so to speak. And that's all they doing. But even if you do the groundwork, if you ain't got the diploma and the certificates that they got in these schools, they want you to believe that some reason your information, some before this stuff came forth with institutions of them doing that, they didn't have no certificates and all that type of stuff back during the time of ancient Kemet. Come on, man, this is crazy. But I'm just showing you how bad our people out there, and what they do, they know better. They know that the research is on point, but that's their way of trying to ostracize people that may have information, but say discredit them, just like they did to brother Dr. Umar, and he got credentials. What you even digging in the man background for, though? You know what I mean? For his credentials. Who think about that when they being? You don't think about that when you read these Romans books. We only question each other. And that's the signs of post-traumatic slave syndrome. That's a slave mentality. I don't care how eloquent you are in your ignorance, how good you can speak master's diction in his word, you still a slave. You see? But I just wanted to get at a special drawing, family. Islam. So, all right, Brother Bati Bey, you got anything you want to say before we close out?
I was just gonna say that this is the same. I remember when that vid came out, they was talking. The fact that you do your own research, people were saying that because you did your own research, you didn't go to school, you got some type of Facebook degree or things like that, and then everything you done told them end up panning out and being true, and now they they have this low key vitriol for you, and it's crazy how people that do their own research is criminal, it's almost criminalized, and the people that get told what to do is the ones that are saying or being told is saying they're the majority of the ones that are being hurt by the information that you're accepting ultimately, and that goes back to what you digest, what you take in your mind. I remember this from a movie. It says, "Don't trust nobody's information but your own." You know what I'm saying? And so that's something that I kind of always kept at the forefront. Do my own research, to vet what I'm hearing and not just accept, especially in the West, because that's the one thing that they do to us. You see it on the news all the time. If something goes wrong, the first thing they want to attack is your character. So they'll try to dig up things and say, bring these things to try to act like that discredit. Well, the information doesn't need me to expose it. The information is what the information is. Truth is always going to be true, regardless on if it's said or it's not. And I'm saying this lightly, but the curse of truth is always there, regardless on if you accept it or not. So it's just it just shows that our people that yeah, and this is that'll go against what we're talking. I'm thinking side notes, but it shows that Willie Lynch theory is no longer a theory; it's a fact. When we look at when our people bring information for it, ain't no theory, because that means that it was just a thought put into play. That was actual fact. You know what I'm saying? And with that leaves the common pieces now.
In a powerful measure, brother. Very powerful measure. I'm gonna show you a clip as we close out real quick. A small clip. I'm trying to pull it up and show you exactly what we talking about right here. We ran into this a while ago. And we was talking to these brothers. Let's see. I think this one was it right here. Hold up. And this was actually let's see. Yeah, this was actually a video that I did. This is one of the shows I went on, and I was demonstrating on our brother Sultanate channel. Okay, here it go right here. Now let me share it. And here it is right here. Let's see.
I'm gonna say this.
Go ahead, say it, brother.
Who amongst you believe? First of all, shout out. I'm a Raw Squad Up, right? Pseudo Killers, official. Like and goddamn subscribe. First of all, who amongst you believe that Commission from the basement of his house has overthrown?
All right, hold on. We're not doing none of that.
Hey, Sultanate, knock it
Just
off.
give me 1 minute. Give me 1 minute. We're not doing that. We're not doing none of that.
Then Sultanate, then what are you doing? If we're not, I said, who amongst you believe, right, that committing from his house, like I do scholarship from my house, my nigga. So
Right.
I'm not overthrowing evolutionary biologists from my damn house. I don't have the credentials, right? That wouldn't make any sense. Commission sits in the same place that I sit. He does not have the credentials. And my statement is, who amongst you believe that he has overthrown 100 years of decipherment of the Metanetio?
You need to know what's going on first, right?
I'm gonna say this.
So you heard this brother, you know, and he goes on to say, well, why should we believe you? You know, with the information you bringing, brother, who you supposed to be and all this type of stuff, right? Did you not overthrow, you know, all modern and historical scientists and information, right? And you self-taught, you know, and what ones don't know, and I showed this to our family, as if something was wrong with that. It's called autodidacticism. And it is, you have been taught to a certain degree, and then you continue to do your own research. You see what I'm saying? So it's nothing wrong with doing your own research. You see, autodidacts, it states, are individuals who choose the subject they will study, their studying material, and the studying rhythm and time. Autodidacts may or may not have formal education, and their study may be either a complement or an alternative to formal education, right? And many people, such as your Elon Musk, your Einstein, Bill Gates, they learn what they learned where they were, but then they continue to further themselves in their own research, and they became who they were based upon that. You see, a European can do that, but you ain't got no business doing it. You see that right there? What is a self-taught genius called? I ain't trying to say I'm a genius or nothing. I'm just saying, you know, what this definition of this word is. So there's nothing wrong with being self-taught. You learn from people like I learned from my chairman. I learned from a lot of people, the brother Nketi Ayadeen. You see how I took what I was able to learn, and I was able to apply some of that knowledge from what they taught me to even creating them charts. That's what autodidacticism is. A person who has learned the subject without the benefit of a teacher or formal education. And that's like, nobody taught us hieratic. You see what I'm saying? We teaching the hieratic. So it's going to be people that utilize this methodology, especially, like I say, when we get done with putting it in book form. I guarantee you that it be one of those. Just like they use the chairman's information and they quote the Book of Fire, you know. So it said autodidacts have study groups. They learn by seeing and doing of others or something similar. A self-learner specifically studies alone, learns by themselves, no mentor, no professor, no guidance. So there's a thin line between autodidacticism and self-learning, even of itself, even though autodidact is a self-learned person. But they had somebody that tutored them in the beginning, and then they took it further. You see what I'm saying? And so Go ahead, brother.
If you want to finish out, I'll say it's short.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna show this portion here. It says, why are autodidacts successful? It says the autodidact delves deeply into a subject upon which they have a deep passion and desire to learn as much as possible. You see, this is what makes it easier to maintain a high level of commitment because you become immersed in this information. You know, it ain't something that's burdensome to you. You know, and also you don't place no limitations on yourself. That's another thing. No matter how much I done studied about the beginning of creation and how much knowledge I done been into, I've been studying it for 20, 30 years, that subject alone, I would not give up on that subject matter. I continue to study it wherever and whenever I come across even more information. And I just continue now to compile more information on what I've already studied over that time period. So that's why I can say certain things or speak on certain things, because I've been had this stuff on my mind for like 20, 30 years straight. You see what I'm saying? So I'm going everywhere that goes into a deep reference of that same subject. And this is what gives you mastery over the subject. And that's why a lot of time they can't overthrow what I'm saying. They think they're dealing with somebody that just watched some new YouTube videos. But my premise is strong because I got years of information to back it up. You know what I mean? And whether somebody accept that as a consensus or whatever, it you know, it is what it is. But I'm gonna stop right there, Graham, man. I just wanted to put that out there real quick because people try to make it look like something wrong with us doing our own research and bringing the truth to the people. Go ahead, brother Bati Bey.
Islam, gratitude, and that's, I'm glad you put that out there, because if you're being taught by one source of information, that's called indoctrination. You're not looking outside. You're not looking to disprove it. You're not looking to challenge it. Anytime you can't challenge the information that you are being brought, that is indoctrination, point blank. When you're able to cross-reference, like we say, truth is one all the way across the board. So if we're looking at, regardless of if you see it in the Moorish Holy Quran, the Gita Veda, the Zoroaster, you see it, you're going to see the same information travel across many different lands and many different languages, because it is a founded truth. You know what I'm saying? And so a lot of these people, when this information has come back, that disproves everything that they stand on. So it's almost like when I was first coming into the teachers of Noble Drew Ali, it went against the Islamic, and then prior to that, it went against the Christianity. So those are the foes of stagnation in the mind of the information you bring is a sturdy foe to fight alone. You know, and a lot of people don't want to do that because they have to set aside and realize that they don't know what they think they know. You know, and with that leaves a come peace.
Islam and peace and love. And I said when I go live, I was gonna give our people some definitions too. You know, I want to get these brief definitions right here. Very important to be understood, and it goes with what you just said. Right here, as a matter of fact. I've been telling our people about this here. This is actually mental illness. When you talked about ones who basically stuck in that box of only what they see, this is called monomania. You become a monomaniac. This is a person that exhibits exaggerating or obsessive enthusiasm for one particular preoccupation, so to speak, when it comes to dealing with a certain thing. You know, this is actually, for example, like you have people, they want to deal with only what they call scientific literacy or science. They become a monomaniac in that mindset. They can't hear nothing, don't want to hear nothing else. Anything else outside of that got to be a lie. You're a monomaniac. And that is actually a form of mental illness. You see what I'm saying? And I'm gonna show you something else right here. You know, they have another term which deals with sophomaniac. Sophomaniac. You know what I mean? This is somebody that basically, you know, they have a excessive respect for their own wisdom, what they know. Anything somebody else got, they don't care. You know, so you have monomaniacs and you have sophomaniacs. You see? And that's what we're dealing with when we deal with the people. I'm going to show you this term they've been slanging around here in this community when they like to try to dismiss information they don't want to deal with. They call it pseudo science, right? In other words, the word pseudo in and of itself, really pseudoscience or pseudoscientists, they call them false prophets, right? Or they just say you're a liar. But that's a way of saying it without saying you're a liar. And so for somebody to say that you are a liar based upon the fact they don't accept it because it comes from a religious text or a text that they don't agree with, that still don't change the fact that the information is factual. You just don't agree with the information. And just because you don't agree with the information don't mean that the information is false or a lie. So what we have to do is start putting ones on the hot seat immediately when they say that, just like when we deal with due process in the law, how the European immediately have to deal with the concept of due process. We got to demonstrate the same thing. You see, we got to demonstrate the same thing when it comes to it. When they say pseudo, all right, prove it. Since you calling me a liar, you know, can you produce some information or some evidence to support the lie, you know, that I'm supposed to be done told right here? If not, then you're the one that's the liar. And I'm going to show you something else about this word pseudo that our people don't know. You know, it gets deeper. It's very important that our family understand why we shouldn't even use this word in reference to dealing with people just for the purpose of utilizing it. I'm trying to find that one area I had up here because it's actually a real offensive term too. A very derogatory term. Just trying to find it. Okay, give me 1 second here. Not that one there. Yeah, here it is right here. Notice it says pseudoscience is often considered pejorative, particularly by the purveyors of it, because it suggests something is being presented as a science inaccurately or even deceptively. So people's trying to say just because you speak on religion, you pseudo. If you speaking on religion and you ain't saying nothing in regards to dealing with no science, you see, and even if you speak on it with science and it's proven, then that just make what you saying no longer theory. That actually make it science. But just because you are speaking on religion and somebody call you pseudo based off of that right there, it's a disrespectful term. Watch this. Therefore, those practicing or advocating pseudoscience frequently dispute the characterization, right? But watch this. They consider pseudoscience the term a pejorative. What do they mean when they say pejorative? A pejorative slur, a derogatory term, is a word or grammatical form expressing a negative or disrespectful connotation, a low opinion, or lack of respect towards someone or something. It is used to express criticism, hostility, or disregard. Sometimes a term is regarded as pejorative in some social or ethnic groups, but not in others, or may be original pejorative, but later it says adopt a non-pejorative sense, vice versa, in some or all contexts. You see? And it says here the word pejorative is derived from the Latin, where it says past participle, stem of piorare, which means to make worse, a pior, worse. So basically, This is where basically one is trying to worsen the condition. They ain't trying to build no bridge. They trying to tear something down. Now watch this when they go into the deep definition of these words. In historical linguistics, the process of an inoffensive word becoming pejorative is a form of semantic drift known as pejoration. It states an example of pejoration is a shift meaning of the word silly from the meaning that a person was happy and fortunate. It says to meaning that they are foolish and unsophisticated. The process of pejoration, it states, can repeat itself around a single concept, leaping from word to word in the phenomenon known as euphemism treadmill, right? It says, for example, as in the successive pejoration of terms of bog house, privy house, latrine, water closet, toilet, bathroom, restroom, U.S. English. When a term begins as a pejorative and eventually is adopted into a non-pejorative sense, this is called what they call amelioration. It says one example is the shift of the meaning of the word nice. It says from meaning a person who is foolish to meaning that a person is pleasant. It says when performed deliberately, it is described as a reclamation, a reappropriation, like we tried to do with the word nigger, for example. It says an example of the word that has been reclaimed by portions of the community that it targets is queer, which began as a reappropriated positive descriptor in the early 1990s. And even the word black, for example. But basically, to be honest with your family, they end up telling you that, when you get into these words and they say they are pejorative, calling somebody pseudo is no different than calling somebody a nigger, as they saying here, basically. It go deeper than that. So the pseudo is a derogatory or discriminating term, family. And it constantly divide our people, and they throw this word around and slang it around, like they ain't got no sense. So know what you're dealing with. And this is what they do to try to, dismiss the information that when they don't want to deal with it. So I'm going to stop right there, and we just give honors to our family. We're going to keep educating you and keep giving you insight. And all is well, family. It's all love, peace, love, and law at all costs. Islamism without the schism. Unqua Jet Seneb Shimotepu. Life, health, and prosperity be upon you all. And the peace of the ancestors I offer to you. That's what I just said. So now we'll call on our sister Dendra Re En Kmt so that she may take us, on up in elevation in third heaven. Islam, High Priestess.
Islam, Islam, Islam. Woo! Great class, great class. Islam. January 15, 1929. A warning from the Prophet to be read at every meeting. I hereby inform all citizens that they must end all radical, agitating speeches while at work, in their homes, or on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any citizen or group of citizens who hold malicious feelings toward the government or the prophet or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the law as laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card and button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet Noble Jew Ali. And if the prophet is not right, the government is not right. The prophet, therefore, is sending out the divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their part in protecting their prophet and the government. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways by the order of Prophet Noble Jew Ali. A holy covenant of the Asiatic nations. Ye are the children of one father, provided for by his care, and the breast of one mother have given you suck. Let the bonds of affection therefore unite thee with thy brothers, that peace and happiness may dwell in thy father's house. And when ye separate in the world, remember the relations that bindeth you to love and unity, and prefer not a stranger before thy own blood. If thy brother is in adversity, assist him. If thy sister is in trouble, forsake her not. So shall the fortunes of thy father contribute to the support of his whole race, and his care be continued to you all in your love to each other. Islam, Islam, Islam. This meeting is officially adjourned according to Act 2. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Go in peace, Moors. Islam.
Islam, Islam.
Peace and love.
Peace and love.
Gratitude.
Peace and
Grand
love.
class.
Great class. Great.
Peace and love.
Islam.
We love you, Moors.
Islam.
Y'all
We
too.
love you too. We love you more.
Yeah. All right.
Islam.
We'll see you Moors on Sunday school class from which the guides and the guiders of the nation arrive in the ride.
Islam.
Islamism without the schism.
Yes, sir.
Peace
Islam.
and love.
Peace and love.
All right. We want to give honors to our family out there as well. You know, all of y'all for showing up. I'm telling you, I'm talking about this thing is very, very powerful, family. We giving you the tools that you need, you know, in order to build yourself up properly. And we look forward to some of our family, you know, coming forth and giving their portions as well. So all is well, family, peace, love, and law at all costs. And we on the way. All right. See you in the next session.